And a happy Monday morning to you. Welcome to the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar. Matt Iwanyk with you here. Tom Gazzola is stopping by for a bit today.
I just assumed I had to come on.
No. Well, you've got a busy day because you did morning show.
Yeah.
At least you just got a busy day at EST. And I'm not even going to go into everything extra you're doing with Bozone Live and stuff. But then Oil Stream, you and I have at noon.
Yeah,
we'll get people
that's
set.
right. Oh
well,
my
that's
god!
The thing.
And then we have Oil Stream pregame.
And then
at
Oil Stream pregame show today at 3:30 as Oilers get set to take on those Panthers. And then you got a postgame show. Good thing you don't have to do the morning show tomorrow.
Yeah, thank God.
But yeah, no. So that's like if at any point you need to just head on out and get another power nap in like you did on Friday.
Yeah,
feel free.
I'm going to when Gerry gets here.
Sure.
Yeah. You could nap during the Oilers game tonight.
Oh, snap. Because we know what the outcome will be and how we get to that outcome.
Boom. Also, Murray McCourt joining us from the VIP Golf Show during golf season. You could catch it live right here on Edmonton Sports Talk and also of the Ranch Golf and Country Club where people could start booking tournaments.
Absolutely.
How quickly do tournaments actually fill up?
Well, I booked I sent out the tournament package on Wednesday last week to all of our 180 tournaments we had last year. I've already got over 2,000 tournament rounds booked in like 2 days since it fired up. So all of our tournaments...
I'm going to need one of those packages.
All those tournaments that were booked last year, we hold the date for them until January 15th to give them the first right of refusal to maintain the same date they had last year. And I sent the package to all of them, and they can book in real quick, and then it's first come, first serve after January 15th.
January 15th, I need to talk to you, Murray. Except my phone will be calling your phone at some point that day. Just a heads up.
Yeah, because you're on this station, and we're all very good friends, so we could nudge some other.
It doesn't work that way.
I know.
He's got relationships he's got to deal with those other people.
I know. 30 companies going to be phoning me on January 16th. So you phone me bright and early that day.
Oh, Murray, I'm going to be the last call you get on the 15th. Okay. I think.
Sounds good.
But if you were one of those companies that had a tournament at the ranch last year and are willing to just give us a date and find a different date at the ranch, let us know. We'll make that work. Still book your tournament at the ranch, but see if we could get a different day. But yeah, no, because we do want to do an EST golf tournament next year. So, and there's no place to do it than at the ranch, which is the home of golf tournaments in Edmonton, really.
Yes.
How many last year? Do you know?
Just over 180.
Wow.
Yeah. It was our biggest year by miles. It is. I mean, since COVID has ended, our tournament business is just... we were already the busiest tournament golf course in the province before COVID, but it's insane what's going on right now.
Hey, how did the course changes go over? Because you made some modifications. Last year was...
We did, it was great.
Yeah.
They all grew in and they were all open like long before the end of the year. We didn't close anything down. We built a new green on 15 that was... in behind the old green, so it opened July 7th, 8th, right around there, and it's been great, but no changes on the course this year. That was a lot of pressure on our superintendent to go through. We've done so much over the last number of years, so the big thing this year is I have a complete new cart fleet coming in with an even more state-of-the-art GPS than we had before, so that's kind of the biggest, and 2 new beverage carts that be all decked out and look pretty fine. So those are the biggest improvements to look for this year.
Beverage carts at Ranch are excellent. You've got friendly beverage girls there. And then I find that the snack shack at the turn is phenomenal. Cheese for the tube steaks.
Yes, the hot dogs are really, really, really good.
Yeah, and delicious pork missiles.
Unbelievable.
And taco in a bag.
Taco in a bag.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That I don't like. I wouldn't eat taco in a bag, but it is crazy. Probably we sell thousands of them a year. Yeah.
They're not a lot. I think the Rebels do it at the Centrium, and it's like a big deal in the WHL world or something.
Is sour cream in there?
I'm not sure.
Has to be, right?
I think you have to.
Absolutely.
Oh, fantastic.
It is a nice little thing. It's easy to do itself. It's easy to do at home and stuff.
Yeah, but
you get those mini Dorito bags and you can do it. But it is a nice treat.
Because it's made with love.
Well, and at the snack shack, I mean, you have the bag. They cut open the bag, and you have your fork, so you're not getting your hands all
No,
messy.
you could do that in between hits, shots, and stuff like that. We will get to. We have Oilers chat. We'll get to Grey Cup talk here. Your thoughts, welcome 780-218-9999, or you can jump in the nasty chat. But I just want. What do you mean new state of the art GPS? Like, what's so? Do they have
the technology in the GPS world? Our GPS was basically. I could have used it for one more year, and then it just was the technology in the GPS world has changed and evolved so much that our GPS wasn't going to work again at all after one more year. And the way I've always bought our carts and whatnot, I had to get a completely new cart fleet.
Do they have speakers in them?
Yes, every single one.
You got the one with speakers in
I
them?
love those.
Like Bluetooth. And,
Yeah.
So every cart,
That
you're
is
going to be able to
amazing.
play music and all that, yeah.
How is that? How is music on the course going? Like, because I know there's some people that think, no, you can't have music on the course. And to me, I'm part of the other generation that's going, I'm loving that now music is a thing on a golf course in your golf cart, as long as you're being respectable about it. Like,
Right. You don't need to hear it 3 holes over.
No, and like if I'm playing music, I either like to stop away from a tee box if someone's there, or if I'm driving up, I will try to turn it down a little bit so it's not too loud, so they're not hearing it too much, if at all, when they're going to hit.
That makes
How
sense.
has that flown though? Like with golfers, is there complaints a lot that you're hearing? Like, some guys are playing music, or how's that going?
No, we don't hear complaints like that at all.
No.
And it's opened up a new revenue stream for us because we sell so many Bluetooth speakers out of the pro shop. It's crazy.
Well, and there's like certain ones that you like. There are better ones for golf than others.
Hey,
Well, the ones
Like
that
straight up.
have the magnet that you
That's
put
a
right
great
on.
how
one.
many do you
Or-
find in the lost and found? Because they leave them on there.
Yeah, absolutely. That happens
Yeah.
too. And rangefinders too, that they have the magnets
Yep.
now that stick up there, and people forget
What
them
did I
as well.
see? Somebody had a tip for how to do the rangefinder one with the magnet. I can't remember what they did. Something along with your keys, I think. I don't know if it's put your keys in the rangefinder bag or something. So that you when you grab your keys, you could look and be like, oh, I don't have my rangefinder or something. And you go, I
smart.
got to take a look at my rangefinder. There was a tip I saw online that somebody said to do it that way.
Because that's an
I've-
expensive loss.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just so glad that they're like, especially the cart ones now too, because if you didn't charge your Bluetooth speaker or whatever it is, you could just sync up right to the cart and play it right through there, and that's awesome.
And that's the other thing about our carts that's crazy fancy is we bought the ones that have the new lithium batteries. And for listeners and whatnot, they probably don't care about this. For a golf course, this is an unbelievable game changer, these lithium batteries, because when the batteries in our electric carts, we have to keep them topped up with water all the time. And I mean, wrecks, when you're watering it, your clothes get wrecked, and because the acid eats through your clothes.
Yeah.
And anyways, these new lithium batteries, they're like maybe 10% the size of the batteries that are in the cart now. So it makes the cart way lighter. But the big thing is zero maintenance on these batteries, and they're going to last a lot longer than the other batteries for years. So instead of having to pay employees to keep topping the batteries up with water, and then at the end of the year you have to test the batteries, I mean, it's a big process to get these batteries living through the winter in this time.
Yep.
And if you don't do it properly, your batteries aren't going to work in the spring, and you have to buy new batteries, and they're very expensive. Don't have to do any of that anymore with this new cart that we're buying. And so it's like I
have experience with battery and golf cart maintenance, because we at one of my family's homes in Phoenix, the second one that they had, it came with a golf cart, and I went down there for a whole month, and I had to fix up the cart, and I'm like, why isn't this thing working? Why aren't the lights working? I had to like put the distilled water, and I had to tighten everything, and I still couldn't get it going. I'm not really a mechanical guy, but like, yeah, it was a pain in the ass.
Exactly.
Murray. And I can imagine if you have a fleet of what do you have, like 40?
82.
82 carts. Jeez. And you have that big garage for them too.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a lot of work, and it is a lot of little things that if you miss one, it can trigger a bunch of problems.
Yeah, so our staff that deal with that is just through the moon with this change that's coming. So
That's awesome.
That's positive too. It's going to be great for the customers and all the golfers that play, but our staff, and that's important too when you're running a business, to keep your staff happy. And this is a move that's certainly going to do that.
You have music on the golf course, guy?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, but not obnoxious music, Because like you could get some people with the Bluetooths that are just like pounding. You're like, I don't need to hear country music. But like I like when you get in the cart and you got the tunes playing and it's at the right like volume. It's good.
To me, just enough that
Yeah.
when I'm on my tee box, I could just hear it from my cart.
Yeah, I don't
just
mind
it for
that.
myself. I just so personally like where it's my tee shot, it's my golf cart.
Yeah.
So it's not too loud. I could still sort of hear, not too loud, but just slightly.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I like it at.
Do you check with your playing partners to see if they're okay with it, or do you
Generally,
just-
we're all good with it.
Yeah, just
I
you know your
'em.
friends. Yeah.
If I was with some new people, I would always like, you guys okay with music? And then to me, it's like, what do you want? And I feel like the go-to always easiest is also like I have this rock Spotify playlist that I have. Jerry,
Get in here.
that I love to. That I just no one has a problem with kind of with like old school rock type thing.
Yeah.
Like AC/DC and things like that. That's kind of where I'm with it.
My Gage is my uncle. He's more of a traditionalist golfer. He walks courses. He's in his late 50s, and I'm like, hey, I'm putting music on when we ride, and he'll be like, yeah, it's all good. So if he's good with it, I'm like, I think we're okay for the most part.
Absolutely.
Somebody's got some fresh kicks on. Those are brand new Vans. They
Yeah,
look
what's
like.
going on there? Gee, look at this
They're-
fresh
they're-
style
they're-
today.
It's clean as heck.
And
Flat brim cap. All right.
Guns N' Roses on the cap,
Yeah.
so he would be into that rock music with you on the golf course.
Yeah.
I just turned 45, so I gotta keep it young.
You're 45.
Yeah, as of Friday.
Do not look that way
Happy
at all.
belated.
Happy
Oh,
belated.
yeah, feeling okay. Actually, I'm all hopped up on cold medication right now, so
Oh, sweet.
that probably helps.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
great.
I got like the achy body all over. It's one of those. So, I don't know. I was hoping to get a little bit more of the bedroom voice just for this, but
The sultry voice.
You're going to grind through.
yeah,
You're going to grind through.
absolutely.
Gee. All right.
How was the weekend then?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was jam packed.
Right on Saturday?
Yeah, right off Sunday. No, I watched the Grey Cup though. It was.
Oh, I meant like right Saturday, the Oilers.
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, you had to do that?
Yeah, I had to do that.
That must have been fun.
Yeah, what's with that team?
We'll get to the Grey Cup, but let's do a little Oilers
my
first here, I
gosh.
think.
Here we go.
What is wrong with that team? It's coach? Another coach?
Yeah.
Do they make the change again?
Yeah, the other one was apparently not good enough, putting
Right.
up the best record
Of any Oilers
any
coach ever.
yeah. That not good enough
good
for this time. Just like Jason Moss, takes Montreal all the way to the championship. And
Yep.
Not good enough for this town. Look what they've done since. And I know we're supposed to be talking Oilers.
Oh, we could go to the football
can
too
go
here.
My
We could
goodness.
go all this. We could go ever.
Jason Moss coached the last Double E team to win a playoff game, and that was when Trevor Harris put up like ridiculous historic playoff numbers in the CFL.
Yep.
In a win over Montreal. And yeah, they lost the next one, but boy, they haven't done anything since. They've got 11 whole wins in 3 years since. Jason Moss just coached Montreal to 11 wins this season. Beats Toronto, who had 16,
Yep.
and wins the Grey Cup.
I will say this in defense of the moving on from the organization from Jason Moss from Edmonton. By the way, who never actually still coached a West playoff game, though. I will say that. No,
yeah,
he's
the
won
crossover.
because he lost to Calgary.
Yeah, that's
I hasn't won a West playoff game.
Was that the strange
kick.
field goal
Yeah.
Field goal
decision?
thing, yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Oh, yeah.
gosh!
I think and Jason Moss even just talked about it this past weekend that he learned from his time in Edmonton. And I don't think he becomes this coach in Montreal if he doesn't get fired in Edmonton and also partly maybe fired as an OC in Saskatchewan. That I don't know if he has the learning experience that is necessary to become this coach if he stays in Edmonton
Without
next year.
destroying headsets and smashing
Yeah,
water
he
jugs.
talked.
here.
Duffy mentioned it on the broadcast yesterday too. In his conversation, that Moss even mentioned that he realized that the players really do feed off of the coach, and he had to control his emotions a bit more.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that happens if Brock Sunderland at the time
Ooh, yeah.
doesn't make that change. So I will say that
He's
for-
clearly evolved as a coach in a
100%.
positive way.
unbelievable.
And,
well,
and good for him. I mean, we all loved him here as a Eskimo and whatnot, and so for him to get that Grey Cup, absolutely fabulous.
what I love that he got this Grey Cup as head coach too is like he never won it as a starting quarterback, a Grey Cup. He was on 03 of Edmonton, 05 in Edmonton. And Edmonton doesn't win in 05 without Jason
Nope.
Moss.
Correct.
That's right.
Straight up. He gets them there. But Ricky Ray played the game start to finish.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have for Jason Moss that as the guy when in a head coaching role, not as an OC, not as a quarterback's coach or something like that. He went out there as the coach.
Yeah.
And he got the ring.
Well, Danny Machocha brought him in as his guy. I mean, he wanted Ricky too, but Ricky's like, I'm just going to keep marathon running, and coaching's
what he's
too
up
much
to?
work. Yeah,
marathon running?
He's marathon running. Last
No
I heard.
way.
Yeah. Hey, he looks great. He was in town last for the Terry Vaughn Wall of Honor induction, and just comes up to me. I had my little guy up in the alumni room, and Rick comes up. He's like, "Hey, how's it going?" I turn around. I'm like, "Rick, like, great to see you. He looks in phenomenal shape." And I tell my son, I'm like, "This is Ricky Ray. Like, he's a legendary quarterback here." And my little guy, he's 7. He looks up. He's like, "Okay." I'm like,
So
"Never
Ricky
mind."
now wants to run? Didn't want to do it as a quarterback
No.
much, but
Isn't-
now
he
isn't that
scrambles
the
well,
truth?
though.
Yeah.
He could if he needed to.
Yeah.
For
Oh
sure.
my God, running for his life sometimes.
Oh, some of those O lines, especially after 05. Like I remember the 06 season up until about 2010 or 11. Like their O line was. Remember the dink and dunk offense?
Yeah.
And he had to run for his life some days.
Man, speaking of 05 O-line, how about Chris Morris bringing his team all the way to the
See
Hardy
murder.
Cup? Yeah.
We
were
just
talking just
about
before-
it before
Yeah.
we got on the air, and like UBC slaughters St. FX, and
Right.
now playing in the Vanier Cup, and
That could have
U of
been
A
them.
would have.
U of A probably would have been the
easily-
Vanier Cup this weekend.
Oh,
You know
so
what?
disappointing.
One wrong side
Yeah.
handoff, and that's a different game.
That extra or a field goal attempt that hits the upright,
know.
Yeah.
all he has to do is miss.
Yeah. Right.
Goes through the end zone, and we had a tie ball game. We're going to overtime,
Yeah.
right? And all that. We saw
Who
the
did we
quarterback
run
Eli.
into? Yeah. Hetlinger.
We were out for drinks, and he came up to. We were with Hernan Salas, and he came up to talk to Hernan. So Hernan introduced us and stuff.
Great-
and
great guy.
You brought up the UBC kicker moment,
Had to.
and he said they saw it.
They saw it. The UBC kicker, if you didn't catch the Hardy Cup after he made the field goal to win it for UBC.
Extra point.
Or extra point, pardon me. He did the little cute wave to the Golden Bears bench, and I was like, oh, that's a no-no. That's a big no-no. And I asked Eli about that, and he's like, we saw it.
Golden Bears are going to be good for
We saw
years
it.
to come.
Yep.
It was in their brains.
Yeah, he's like, we'll remember. And I think next year they're going to lay the hurt down, and they'll make sure. I don't know. Maybe they kiss to the UBC sideline.
don't do anything.
Maybe, or they just
You don't do
You
anything.
just win.
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
maybe point to the scoreboard or something like that, or you just celebrate.
Or you just
and
celebrate.
You know, we won this game.
You know what? A stare down, just a stare, a subtle stare. I wouldn't mind that.
Although
there's
I do-
gamesmanship there. You know?
I do hope UBC kind of wins the Vanier Cup though, because the Bears could say they lost to the champs.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
I would like that. Like after the type of season that they had, to know that they were that close and then not. Although if Montreal wins, when was the last time Grey Cup Vanier came from the same city?
Is that who they're playing? UBC against
Montreal.
Wow.
The Carabin.
Didn't the Golden Bears win early '80s or late '70s while the
Potentially.
Eskimos were winning? Am I remembering that incorrectly or correctly? I don't know.
So you're saying Edmonton's the last time this may have happened? Because if that's the case, that's
maybe,
really
I-
wild.
I don't know.
Because the Bears haven't been that good for a long
Doug
time.
McLean would know. Doug McLean would know. I would think.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to
Yeah.
put those two together. But like, what a great cup game!
Oh,
like,
man.
start
Another
to
one in a
finish.
row. Like
I would
Yeah.
three
Toronto
straight.
last year.
That was wild.
Okay.
Because Hamilton, when
Sure.
it went Hamilton, Winnipeg, where it went to overtime, great game. Last year, unreal with
Yeah.
the way it ended to.
Two block
Block field
kicks.
goal, yeah.
Unbelievable.
And then start to finish, what a game yesterday.
Montreal gets, first of all, it's the fumble on the kick return
Yeah.
in the first half, and then getting stuffed on the goal line like that. It's like, oh man, it's been such a different game. To their credit, used that as fuel and came out in the second half. It's,
That was offside, though, on the goal line stand on third down.
Okay.
I don't understand how that wasn't being discussed more. The head was clearly within the 1 yard. I don't know if anyone saw that at the end of the first half. No one noticed that?
No.
When they show the shot, the Blue Bombers' helmet is within that 1 yard. And that is a clear penalty, and it just was completely missed by the officials. Didn't like that one myself.
They don't catch them all.
No.
But
This one was
yeah.
quite like I don't know how they didn't catch that one. The refs are looking straight across, and all you see is a helmet.
Well, ultimately though, Winnipeg comes out, gets a 10-0 lead.
Yep.
They, in theory, are a far more talented, far better team, and they didn't step on their throat and close them out early, which they easily could have. If they would have got one more touchdown at that point, it probably would have been game over, and they just couldn't do it. And we talked about that too before. 35-year-old quarterback, and maybe he's going to start to tail off now, and Winnipeg's going to need to start going in a different direction. Even though they were 15-4 going into the Grey Cup, it's hard to think that they're still not going to be an awfully darn good football team in the next year or two. But how many quarterbacks are still really that strong at 36 years old next year?
Why? It's just
Ricky did it.
Ricky did it for a while.
But not many. You're right, not
Ricky's
many.
different.
Yeah, he was.
Collaros is a great quarterback.
Sure.
He will go down as one of the top quarterbacks we've seen. But there's just something in the big game that he just can't always finish it off, it seems. I don't know. Like the first Grey Cup they won, Harris was unbelievable that year. And then the last two, they just, in the second halves, they haven't been able to close it out. And I don't know what it is that...
Zach Collaros top, like you could wrap off at least 10, 12 guys in 30 seconds that are way better than him.
10, 12? Yeah, maybe.
Claros had a dip in the middle of his career, too.
It's because of injuries.
Caleros was very close to having it all end.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember.
He had a great career to start. He was one of the... It was him, Riley, Mitchell that people talked about as the top quarterbacks in the league. Then he had his first concussion, and then it was gone until he went to Winnipeg. And he's gone to 4 straight Grey Cups.
Yeah.
Well, he's led the team for the full seasons for 3 of them. Has won 2 of them. Like,
That's pretty darn good.
if he had won just one more of these last 2,
Start talking dynasty.
right? And so, yeah, maybe he's just outside the greatest, but he's one of the better ones. Okay, of the last 30 years, he's one of the better
at
ones.
least 5 on Edmonton that are better than him.
Well, Edmonton's history, except for the last 20 years, has been really good.
Well,
They've
I
had a
take
couple.
Mike Riley over him any day of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
I mean, I'd put Anthony Calvillo in that same boat. I mean, he didn't win all the time, but there was very few better than him
Yep.
during
Yeah.
his time.
True.
It's hard to win. Hard to win it all.
What do the Bombers do from here? Like, do you try to run it back a 5th straight time? Or is there a point where, like, I think at points this season, you kind of started seeing the age slowly creep into this Bombers team. Do you have to have maybe there's a couple guys they need, that if you're Mike O'Shea, got to move on from
Right.
to try to
Well, I certainly don't.
retool on the fly, not rebuild. You're not going through a rebuild if you're the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in any way.
You
shape, or
certainly
form.
don't blow it all up.
No, but there's got to be a couple of tough decisions, I would think, this offseason for them. Or, again, do you try to just, we did it 4 straight years. This is a good group.
Well,
let's go for 5.
The money will talk, right? Whoever agrees to stay on the team and maybe make less than market value otherwise. And that's how you build championship teams.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't get guys to buy into that, then it just doesn't work anymore.
If you just get a bunch of mercenaries on the roster who don't care except for the paycheck, then I don't know. You end up with
Why does Kenny Lawler pop into my mind when I hear that?
To go for the
mercenary?
paycheck?
Yeah, the
Wow,
mercenary,
did
the
he
big-
have things to say about Edmonton this week?
Boy,
was something else.
I mean, gee, you were around the team a lot, obviously, last year. Like, what?
He was a great player, but he can just all of a sudden check out. And maybe that was partially Chris Jones's fault because got back to Lawler that he was shopping around a little bit as as any GM should. I mean, things aren't going well. We're 4-win season. What can I do to mix things up a bit? But I mean, it didn't turn into anything. But some guys take that personally. And Kenny Lawler is a very big ego, and you know what? That's probably what makes him the great player that he is.
Right.
But I don't mind when guys say what's on their mind. It doesn't all need to be nice and hand-holdy and things like that. And that was his impressions of Edmonton. And I'm sure other guys don't feel the same way. But it doesn't help Chris Jones's cause at this point. That's for sure. No.
Darrell Walker was like that too, eh?
I wouldn't put him in the same
not even
attitude
on that
boat as
now.
Kenny Lawler, but certainly how he could be hot and cold, absolutely. And if things aren't going his way, like how long did he spend here his second time around? Where what did he end up with 1 touchdown during his second tenure here, and just completely different guy.
Took the money and
Yeah.
Didn't put in the effort. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. The teams he played on the second time around were not as good as the first time either. But and you know what? Some guys need that. See, you can't do it all on your own, and you need you need that support. You need other guys who. Oh, look! When J.C. Sherritt was leading the league in tackling that one year, I mean, that D-line just funneled everything right into the middle the whole time. And, he's not the same player he is if the system and the teammates aren't all on board with what they're trying to do.
And another point in the Grey Cup, how about Willie Jefferson tweeting at halftime?
Right.
Like, are you out of your mind? You're in a championship game. And to me, that says a lot about where Winnipeg's focus was at that point of the game. They were already patting themselves on the back and just counting down the time till they were hoisting the trophy at the end of the game. And Jason Moss wouldn't let a team do that.
No.
Oh, no.
Being an athlete is different this day and age. You market yourself on social media as much as you go out and play on the court of the gridiron. It's wild to watch. But you're right. Keep your mind in the game at that point.
Yeah.
It's a Grey Cup.
Yeah.
Well, and it's just like if you win, no one cares. Everyone says.
Everybody expects
moves
it.
on.
Yeah.
But if you lose, that's going to be a thing people are going to immediately point to. And there was a player, it's Derek Dennis, I think, that tweeted at him, replied to that tweet like almost immediately or something, going, "Oh boy, halftime tweet, really? Like,
Yeah.
this is what you're doing right now."
Derek Dennis
Have you not
is
seen it?
not afraid to speak his mind.
It wasn't much. Like, it's not like he's like, "Oh, we're gonna go win" or something. Like, the Blue Bombers had tweeted out that Jefferson got a sack, and he quote tweeted it with something. Like, it wasn't like anything egregious. He didn't say anything, but it's just he's sitting on his phone on Twitter, quote tweeting something.
Yeah.
Hashtag don't blink with crazy eyes emoji. Hashtag keep stacking with bricks. That's the quote tweet. Yeah. There's some interesting language used in the replies that I will not repeat.
Because people are going to jump on that right after the game, and they're going to go off that, and it's like, look,
Yo, WTF. The half is over. Go on the field. Great focus. LOL. Get off your phone. LOL.
Nice.
Exactly.
And an Oiler fan says, "Did you even play in the second half?" Like, these are some of the replies.
That's a burn.
Yeah. Willie Jefferson with double L's in caps.
Ooh.
That's one of the replies.
Oilers fans know all about Burns.
Yeah.
I'm a huge
They
Willie
hear him all
Jefferson
the
fan,
time.
though. Like,
He's a great player.
He's so
but-
athletic, and he's just a beast.
Yep.
And I'm disappointed he did that yesterday.
Leads the league in knockdowns as a D lineman. Insanity.
Like, his
crazy.
vertical is just incredible, and what he can do.
And he's 6'7" to begin with.
He had 2 tweets during halftime.
he had
Standing in business.
Okay, that's the one that
Yeah,
a lot
with
of
the
people
sack
jumped on.
gif.
Yes, and that's what Derek Dennis replied to.
Forget there was another half or what? Bad luck. Yeah, Derek Dennis, not the halftime tweet with 3 laughing emojis.
And
Another
that's like in the moment he
Worry
said that
about the
one.
game, buddy.
Yeah.
Wow.
That just says a lot to me. Holy.
Good point, Murray. Yeah, jeez.
I also, for Winnipeg fans, you didn't just lose the last 2 Grey Cups. You lost in wild fashion. You lose on essentially the last play of the game this past year. And last year, you lose on a blocked kick.
I know.
Like a blocked field goal.
Yeah.
And that's like...
After blocking your own, that was insane last year.
And that's how you're going to have to go into the offseason again, is that you were that close to another Grey Cup. That close to dynasty status.
Yeah.
And it's pulled from you. Oh, they can't be doing well in Winnipeg today.
You wouldn't think. I know. What would Edmonton be like if that tables were turned and that was Edmonton Elks in that game?
Well, they did the 16-2 season once. 89.
Yep,
right?
89, yeah.
Losing to
89.
Saskatchewan.
Man,
Glenn Suter's Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Why do we have to talk about the Elks being good in 1989?
I know.
Why couldn't it be like, so annoying?
We'll always
isn't
have 2015, Murray.
it? Yes, we will.
And that's an
but
outlier,
That's now 8
though.
years ago.
8 years ago.
And Gerry just made a great
you're right.
point. Like, it's so hard to win a championship. We're talking about the CFL right now with 9 teams.
I know.
Think about the
I know.
NHL. Think Edmonton's screaming about, oh my God, Stanley Cup. Man, 32 teams. It's
that's-
hard to win.
And that's what makes it worse, because not just the cup or bust statement, but all the expectations. You got the top 2 leading scorers from a year ago. You got, the rookie coming off the All-Star season, although his playoffs didn't quite hold up, but it's like, okay, things are going to be great now. This is the next step. And they missed a step and fell flat on their face right from the get-go. And it doesn't help. I mean, McDavid's obviously hurt. I don't know if it's a pinched nerve in the back or what it is, but it's taking him time. He's not he's playing like a human being now.
Yeah.
Which then, just to me, it's this, because it's such a delicate time, it's hard to do this, but to some degree, at some point, you just then got to sit him for a few games, I think. You got to just see if he can maybe get a little better by having him out of the lineup a little bit, because when he's in the lineup, he does look human right now, and it's not there that you need. So
right, and he did sit out 2 games, and then I'd hate to think they rushed him back for the Heritage Classic just to put ticket sales over the top.
Heritage Classic.
There's probably some pressure on him to do so, but he's not been the same.
But they're in such a tough spot that it's hard to probably sit down if you're Chris Knobloch, if you're Paul Coffey, if you're Connor McDavid, and saying maybe 2 or 3 games rest is needed to have you ready for the rest of the stretch, because the next 2 or 3 games are so important for this.
Every game is for the next 65 or whatever it is.
But they're playing for the new coach, man. I mean, they didn't win last game, but the effort was all there. I mean,
so were the defensive zone.
This is true. That is not going to disappear just because
those are consistent.
Absolutely. Yeah. Which goes back to your other point. They were there before. They're there. I mean, the winningest coach in Oilers history.
I know.
Gets fired. It's on the players, man.
Absolutely.
What's it like going to cover a team that's not going well, the Edmonton Elks, going right to a team that's cup or bust, but it's more bust for you.
And the one common denominator is the guy walking into the locker room. I think I got some Elk stank on me. It just floats around.
You're expecting a good year to write some good wins, and instead you've got a coach firing. And
I got to tell you guys, I mean, I love the CFL. I want to see the football team in this town do well, but I had more fun writing football this year than any of the other 14 I have in the past. It was just,
why is that?
Gloves off. You know what? You could point out anything, you could say anything, and the team was like, "Yep, we can't even argue." And it got to the point where somebody emailed me and said, "You should apologize to Taylor Cornelius's mom." It just got to the point where it is so ridiculous. I can't even believe I'm writing this stuff about this team. It's 0-9, and 22 home losses in a row. That goes back almost, I think it was 3.87 years between home wins, which is, I mean, you got to factor in
October 12th, 2019. Season. I remember that day.
Yeah.
Yep. To August 2023, and take out 1 year for COVID because they didn't play.
Sure.
Right.
But still, it was a long time.
I'm surprised there's anybody in the stands at all at that point. I mean, who wants to pay money to go sit there and just be heckled by...
I did pay money for it.
Here's the one reason also that it was great to go to those games, though, is because you want to be there for the first one.
You did.
And then that was like... I went to a few games this year before that with Mooner. And like that BC loss was one where it was just like we walked away and like that was one of the worst football games I think I've ever witnessed in my life.
Oh, the shutout. The second
one
to BC.
Where like it was like this was a miserable football game. There was nothing to get excited about. Taylor Cornelius had that stupid no, that was Hamilton. That was a different one.
What is he doing?
But it was like
Taylor Cornelius.
But there was always but you want to be there when it finally is over because then when the game they beat Ottawa, it was so exciting and there was this huge energy, and that was the reason to keep going. Was only because you don't want to have missed
because the bar was set so low.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%.
And out on the field afterwards, the players came out and were signing autographs for people. I mean, it was like they won the Grey Cup.
It almost was.
But it's like similar Elks and Oilers this year too. That like both seasons have just started so miserably. Like and you look, and to your point of everything you wrote and everything that you could go gloves off. That's because everything was deserved. Absolutely. They go 0-9 to start. They're shut out twice in a league where you get 1 point for missing a field goal or a punt through the end zone. They blow it against Saskatchewan in game 1 where they can't punch it in from the goal line. Yep. They blow it in Saskatchewan by giving up the single.
That was ridiculous.
On the kickoff in a 9-point swing with the snap of the finger. It was just
22-0. They're up on Winnipeg.
Yeah.
And they lose that
Ford's
game.
first game. Yeah.
That's right.
And it was just everything that was like, there was absolutely, and then you look at the Oilers now this year to start the year.
2 bad losses to Vancouver.
Right off the bat, just
that
everything.
first one, 8-1 or whatever
Yeah.
the heck it
It
was.
might as well be a shutout. And then the second one was supposed to be redemption time on home ice, and they
Yeah.
can't even pull it out.
They were
Lose
kind of just
4-3.
in that. They're just kind of there that Saturday game. I was like, what's going on?
They
with
get
these guys?
Nashville at home. Can't do it. They go to San Jose.
Oh
the team
my
that's-
God,
they
that
can't do it.
was
Like
so-
both teams, just absolutely
team in the league.
worst starts you can have.
I don't care what your record says. When you lose to the worst team in the league, you become the worst team. And that was the end of Woodcroft.
That
right?
was,
that
yeah.
was.
That would have been.
They made the decision then. He comes back, wins his last game, and
Moot
The
point.
question for the three of you then is the Elks, the one credit you could maybe have for them this year is that they didn't seem like a locker room that was discouraged by Iwanyk. They stayed together. They stayed trying to fight. Is this Oilers group a team that could do the same, that stays in the fight for this entire upcoming rest of the season?
absolutely zero reason they shouldn't be. It's
Yeah.
almost the same. I mean, yeah, you lose a couple guys off the lower half, but there's no reason they shouldn't be right up there again, challenging and turn this thing around. And if it stays like this all year, I will be shocked. But it could.
Because it just snowballs on you.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out of a funk like that.
Other teams, they can sense the blood in the water.
Absolutely.
And the Oilers are the chum. And this
Yep.
is...
Well, on top of that, even before this year, you know, the Oilers were the team a lot of teams would have circled on the calendar.
Right.
That's the team we got to be up for. We're going to take down McDavid. We're going to take down Draisaitl. We're going to take down the Cup favorites, quote unquote. And now not only did they have it circled immediately, now it's, oh, okay, we could make their season more miserable.
Just like Winnipeg, you get that target on your back. You're the team to beat, the top dogs, and everybody else picks it up against you.
Is this team able to do it in that locker room, you think? Like the Elks this year, to not allow it to completely derail inside the room so that they could keep going for the rest of the season?
I do think in the locker room
Yeah.
they have the demeanor and the guys that can pull it together. Now, you say the right things in the locker room, you do the meetings, everybody's productive on that side of the game. But then when the puck drops and you have 60 minutes to actually put it into action, they don't. They fall into the same stupid mistakes that they continually make, and they trip over themselves. Death by 1,000 cuts, to steal Connor McDavid's term that he stole from Peter Chiarelli. So yeah, they talk a big game, and they seem to have the right attitude. Gee, you're in that room too. But then when it comes time to shine and the lights are on, they're laying down duds. So
The mistakes compound,
Yeah.
and it's not a good feeling.
no.
And boy, it looks now to me like they were able to hide a lot of stuff with some big offense the last couple of
Yeah.
years.
Absolutely. They're missing Duncan Keith on the back end.
There you
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm going to double down on something last time I was on the Hangout with you guys, and I'd love to know Gerry's take on this. So I'm going to double down on the culture of the organization, because when I talked about it last time, it was just before the San Jose game. I think I was on, and
I think you're on the day after the San Jose game, actually.
or the day after, right?
so.
And we were right. And now I'm going to go back in time when Mark Spector a couple of years ago wrote an article about the Red Wine Club.
Red Wine Summit.
The Summits.
So Gretzky, Coffee, Mac T, all these guys drinking all the red wine, in the ear of Cates, telling what to do. My understanding is the coach planted that story and made sure that it got out because it was making his life extremely difficult. Okay, now let's fast forward a little bit. We got Paul Coffey as the, what is he? The
Advisor,
advisor
special advisor.
To the owner.
Yeah.
And that's his job. And now he's in the dressing room on the other side of the bench from this new head coach. And I got nothing against Knobloch. I think he's a great up-and-coming coach. And maybe he is the right coach for the Oilers. But when you have the special advisor to the president on the other side of the bench, he is in an impossible situation. Impossible. He is being set up to completely fail by him being there. And people are saying, oh, well, he doesn't have that beeline into Cates anymore. BS. S.
Oh, he absolutely does.
Absolutely does. And where you can say he doesn't have that talent, he's still in his year. So Chris Knobloch is in a position to fail because of that. And then you look at the press conference. Oh, we didn't consult with or did you consult with the players? Oh, yes, I've been talking to the players all week.
Sorry for asking that, by the way. That was me.
Yeah, you know Connor better than I do, so maybe you should speak. We didn't speak to the players about this. Oh, my God. Train wreck after train wreck after train wreck. I'm doubling down on the culture and that organization right now stinks.
I think when you brought that up, I said I think the mindset as opposed to the culture. But yeah, this could poison it for sure.
It's a train wreck.
Yeah.
And
So Coffey is looking over the shoulder of Knobloch on the bench. Is that the feeling? And then right in the ear of the owner?
absolutely.
Well, or at the very least, it has the perception, whether it's reality or not. The perception isn't good that anything that Chris Knobloch says is going to get back to the owner, right? Or even the players. Anything the players say in the room, as long as Paul Coffey's there, that could get back to the owner of the team.
sure.
And there's no real safe zone now for this team.
It doesn't
Absolutely
help that
not.
Coffey is like, I didn't want this job. in the first place.
I know that's
Unprompted.
not a good look either. I mean, there's so much of this that just reeks.
It feels wishy-washy and very forced, especially all the McDavid connections now being thrown in the.
And remember, Jerry, when McDavid had his chance to talk, he went out of his way to be like,
did
I
not
know what the
lose the
narratives
room.
out there. So, by all accounts, he's pissed off.
Yeah.
Like, he's not happy and he doesn't like the
That was
perception.
that was the feeling I got when he was talking.
He does not want to be LeBron, and he tried to make that as clear as possible in a nice way.
Flip side to that too, though, I also say is what else is he going to say in that moment, right? Like he's not going to be there and like,
Well,
yeah, I made this move.
If he wa-
you know,
that
no
felt
one
genuine.
wants,
Yeah.
and then that's fair. But it's like one of those you don't want to be known as LeBron James fully. Like
Right.
LeBron doesn't even want to be known as the guy. He's going to sit there and now when he speaks, he's less genuine, so you don't believe him as much. But he's not going to be a guy that sits there and goes, "Yeah, I fired this coach." He's going to be like, "No, it was a good coach. David Blatt was a good coach. We didn't need him fired or whatever." So there is that to it as well. So I will, in defense of the narrative that McDavid is running everything, I do see where some people are coming from with that. You know, it's when it looks like a duck and it sounds like a duck. Often it is. Now, whether it is the case, no, there's a chance that the Oilers think this is what McDavid wants. Sit there and think that he wants his former coach and he wants his, and this is how to keep him happy. When it might actually be just doing the complete
pushing
reverse reaction.
Is this just panic to the point where we're going to lose this kid?
Yeah.
Let's surround him by everything familiar. Let's make this his, and hopefully he stays. Right? Like how much of that plays into their
That's
decisions.
what it's starting to feel like.
Well, and as we found out from Connor Brown, had this connection with Connor and Junior. How's that playing itself out right now?
It's costing the team $3 million next year.
Chris Knobloch, as a head coach, had success with Connor and Junior. Does that translate to the NHL now? Like,
One of the worst things to do in sports is be scared of something. And if the Oilers are running around being scared of losing McDavid, ultimately you're going to lose McDavid. It's like in football when you're scared to not lose a football game or something, and you play that prevent defense or anything. What do we know of prevent defenses? You give up a lot of points, you know, and you allow them to move the ball.
Anyways,
So it's just, if they're going into a scared mode that we're going to lose this guy, well, ultimately there's a good chance then you actually might lose him because you've pushed him away
writing their own destiny.
by being scared out of all of it.
But ultimately, we'll see what happens over the next few days. But is the next move has to be, and it probably should have been the first move over the coach. But does it not have to be a trade of some type of significance?
They can't afford this roster.
Well, but it's got to be a trade that moves out money, and so it's got to be a trade that's going
To move.
you got to be looking at Nuge.
It's going to require somebody waiving a no trade clause. Is what it's
The
going to
top
be.
players all have some sort of no move or no trade clause, so you can't move them.
Well,
you
unless you
can.
ask them.
Yeah.
Well,
Or
but how
what
many are
is-
going to want
is
to
it
leave?
Full,
Well, how bad's it going to get?
yeah, like if you're
But if it's to dump cap, you're going to a lower team still. You're not going to a
well,
top
that's
team,
how
and they're
you
not
can
going to
get
trade.
quality back, though. I mean, it's a terrible time of year. We talked about it again when I was on last, like his Draisaitl. I'd move Draisaitl too, but it's not the time. It's the off season where a trade like that makes some sense. But man, like if you could move Nuge and get, a goaltender that can help Stu, because Stu can't handle it by himself.
By the way, Calvin Pickard's starting.
He's starting
for the Oilers
tonight, and we'll that's scary. But if you get like even a legit NHL goaltender that not necessarily a starter, someone that can legitimately come in and relieve Stewart and not cost you games like Campbell was doing, and then a solid guy to get on the third pair. And a good third line guy that can chip in. I mean, you're not asking for a lot, but you're getting depth and you're swapping salary to get that.
Some reason so they don't have to go 11-7 formation all the time, which is, I mean, how can you get into a flow with your forwards and you're always jumbling stuff around and they're just and Woodcroft was stuck in that sort of downward spiral.
Yep.
You couldn't get better.
I guess the difficult part to a degree with the trade is who's making that trade, and is it Ken Holland still, or is Ken Holland being tasked by Jeff Jackson to be like, "Hey, go try to make this trade"? Because
probably
is Jeff Jackson able to know how to go maneuver and make the trade? He obviously has the contacts of everyone around hockey. He's been around the game long enough, but
Holland still has a
never
job
had
to do.
Execute the trade. But now it's going to need final approval of Jeff Jackson and.
Yeah.
But if you're not really into it as the GM, like if you're a lame duck GM, like. I guess you're just at this point you're just playing or GMing for your legacy because you're not getting a contract after all.
It's a bad situation all
Isn't
around.
it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like I trade
just the nod over there and the look.
I trade.
You summed it up.
Like because I know I'm a beloved Blackhawk fan because I know them so well. Like this is a trade I'm thinking. Blackhawks I don't think would make this trade anyways because they're not at a point where they want Ryan Nugent Hopkins on their team. But you look at Peter Mrazek, our number one goaltender. Look, we're not winning hockey games, but look at his stats. His save percentage is like .930. So that's the type of goaltender. Connor Murphy is a really, really solid NHL defenseman.
Just loading up on Connors.
And then a forward. I mean, we've got all kinds of forwards like a Colin Blackwell is just coming back from an injury. Like Corey Perry's got like 9 points already this year. A guy like that could come into your third line, chip in, like a legit NHL player. That money would be pretty close. It'd save Oilers about $1 million. That could give them the flexibility to have that extra forward up, so they're not,
But this is where like
roster.
it's not even if the Blackhawks would make this trade. Why would Nuge accept that?
Oh, well.
Why would you leave this team to go to the Blackhawks of all teams, right? Like that's
to play with Connor
Bedard.
Bedard and the Blackhawks.
But you got McDavid already.
Blackhawks are going to be really good.
The Oilers are supposed to be good. Like that's the thing. Like if you're Ryan Nugent Hopkins, I just don't.
Well,
that's where like if
do you bump up to second line center in that situation? I mean,
Nuge?
it depends what he wants. I guess.
I mean, and I'm not saying
I
the
think he wants to win.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's that closer. He's not closer to that with the Blackhawks than to agree with the
Yeah,
Oilers.
but
Like
the
if you're
Blackhawks
talking,
can
if
flip
there's a
them too,
team, a playoff team right now, just throwing. Let's say Vancouver was interested. No, it's not happening in the division. I'm just saying they're a playoff team. Maybe then that's where it's like, yeah, okay, there's a chance to be in the playoffs and do some damage. Maybe that I could see then him waving, but going to a team that's going to likely miss the playoffs, though, why not just stay in Edmonton and place? You've earned that no move clause. You want to be here to a degree. You hope that this turns around. You hope that Connor and Leon still stay and you stick around.
You ask a guy to waive the no trade clause. That sends a message that they don't want me around here, which might factor into a decision as well.
Yeah.
But they obviously cannot afford this roster the way it is, and the way they're mismanaging stuff. $3 million to a guy who hasn't done anything
No points.
ever.
10 games.
Nothing this year, but even before he wasn't that good.
Nuge?
No. Connor Brown he's talking
that
about.
one. Sorry.
Yeah,
It was. I can't believe he played on Saturday.
that was the nail in the coffin.
I really can't believe it.
You called it a $3.25 million penalty.
It's a
on
penalty
Friday.
next year.
Yeah.
It's not a bonus. It's a penalty
They
on
had
this
it
team
handed
next
to
year.
them. They could have been like, this mistake, it's wiped clear.
Yeah.
We can just get rid of it.
Put him on waivers. Send him. Even as people, again, don't know how easy it is. Conditioning stint for a while in the AHL. Like get him a couple games.
Player
to
would
see
have
what
to
it is.
agree to that.
Right.
Then you just put him on
Right.
Who
waivers.
cares if he
Yeah.
gets picked up on waivers?
Well, that's
You're
the
free.
thing. Like
You're set.
Yep.
I said this on the Oil Stream on Friday. Like, I would, if I'm the Oilers, I put him on waivers. If in January the Oilers are back in a playoff hunt or sitting in a playoff spot and he's playing well, maybe there's a time you can sit there and be like, okay, you want to know something? We're going to give him a shot back up here. And maybe that's the chance to to take that 3.25 hit next year. On Saturday, with the way his season has been, with where your team is, and looking for, like, the cap's supposed to go up $4 million next year. Well, for the Oilers, it's going up $750,000 now.
Yeah, so they're screwed.
Because you've taken this hit.
You start talking about all these nickel and diming moves to save $1 million, and meanwhile they turn around and just
and do that. So there is still an out for the Oilers on that later this year to have it come into this year. So say their season is still train wrecking, they can get rid of salary at the trade deadline,
And then it hits.
and then it comes in. It can stay into this year's. So I think
So you
in
got
my
to do
mind,
salary dump,
salary,
which means
dump.
you're trying to not bring in players to help your team, but
Right.
instead you're giving up on the season in a
Yeah.
sense, or you know you're going
Right.
to miss the playoffs.
Well, the trade deadline you
And now
typically
they-
know, but so you could move out some money at the trade deadline, so that comes into this year. So if your season is off the rails, you probably are going to make a couple of those moves anyways to get some assets. Because look in the future of the Oilers, look in their farm system. I mean, there's not a lot coming up. And Bo Akey just out for the year with an injury now, which so that's
but that
gonna
still
set
should have been a couple years for the
his
NHL.
Yeah.
right, but his development's slowing down. So their cupboards as an organization is bare. So if this season stays in the tank, they're going to have to move out some pieces of the deadline to get some assets back in, that if they can turn around quickly, they can use some of those assets to make other trades to get their depth where they need
if
it,
they can,
or
they
build
gotta-
their future back up.
they got to find some other team that wants to take that on too. And it's like, well, what has this guy done? That's
Well, I know who's
worth
the
this
player that
money?
you're willing to
It's
move
not
on
necessarily
from.
well.
Like, let's take Nuge out of the equation for a second, because we talked about
Kulak.
him. How much? I don't know how much is that. A lot of savings that you're getting on
It's like
Kulak,
3.25.
it's
Yeah,
not
I
too
think
bad.
he's 3. So I mean that could do it alone.
because the
maybe.
top guys you're not touching, Connor and Leon, obviously.
What's CC's salary?
3.7.
And those are the type of guys that teams are really looking to pick up at the deadline. So I mean, you could easily move those guys. I mean, Derek Ryan. I mean, he's not
Kulak's
a lot of money.
2.75, CC's 3.25. Kulak's got 2 more years left on a deal. CC's got 1 more year left on a deal.
So those are both movable.
I think you're the one saying maybe it's time to move on from Bouchard.
Absolutely.
And that would be the one. He's got
I
1
said
more
it
at
2 weeks ago.
3.9. Is that a guy that makes that move? You make a move on him, but
Second leading
that's
scorer on the team.
a tough one to move though, because it's how do you replace Evan Bouchard in a sense?
On this team with a defensive defenseman.
That's right. I mean,
But who? Like that? And
But
like, are you saying that? Would you say that within the trade you're getting that defensive defenseman back, or
and saving
yeah,
some money.
yeah, and like Jerry
because
said,
I don't know if
he's
there's someone in
second-
the organization you're ready to jump in to fill that spot.
There isn't.
Yeah.
But like Jerry said, he's your second leading scorer on the team right now, but he's hurting you so much at the other end. Like, he's kneecapping you in your own zone that you're losing games, and whatever offense he's putting up is irrelevant.
You're going to get some assets back, something of quality for Bouchard too.
I
You
would
have a
identify.
contending team that their power play isn't working very well. They're taking Bouchard and giving you something real for him.
Yeah. That's the guy, I think, because you've riddled your roster with no movement clauses. You got a guy that's frustrating beyond belief. I know he's just getting to that or just hit the 200-game mark for his career.
Yeah.
Yep, he'll probably end up being a longtime NHLer, but he's got warts on his game. Someone pointed out Justin Schultz on the morning show. I get that. But if you're trying to salvage this season, that's probably the best move to make.
I think if you're trading him at the deadline, that's actually more of a selling move, not a
I'd look at
salvaging the
doing
season.
it
I
right
think-
now. I'd look at doing it right now.
Well, a trade needs to happen right now, of some kind,
Yeah.
because you
Mix it up.
You can't get any goaltending help without moving some salary out right now.
Yeah.
And if you, I realize Pickard's going to play tonight, but we all agree Pickard's not the solution here, right?
I'm actually really intrigued by this, strictly because I'm not long term necessarily. I still
a
think
31-year-old journeyman.
here's
He's your Michael Layton, huh?
as a solid backup for this team that could take Stuart Skinner in relief, because he has some NHL experience, so it's not a guy that's never played in the NHL. He's been out for a little bit though. I'm intrigued to see how much mentally it's like, I want to stay here. His drive to be like, I'm getting a shot once again in the National Hockey League.
maybe.
I want to keep my spot on this team and in the NHL. Jack Campbell, he's not coming up, but he's not coming up. I'm going to prove that this team maybe doesn't need to go make that trade. I could play 20 games this year and give this team 20 solid games. I'm actually intrigued to see how he performs, just from that
That's how
mental
bad it's gotten.
perspective. Absolutely. And do I expect that ultimately he's going to put up like a 950 save percentage tonight and moving forward? No. But I'm just saying, this does intrigue me tonight.
Skinner has that ability, though. Those 3-game win streak he was on, his numbers were right at the top.
So
of
you
the
just
league.
need someone that could
Spell him off.
spell him off.
Yeah.
And could that potentially be a Calvin Pickard? Jerry's going absolutely nuts.
He hasn't showed it yet. He's been up and down his whole career.
But now he's been down for a long time. Is that the moment that clicks in and goes, I'm here, this is my net?
For the trade purpose, though, it would be great if he could, for a couple of weeks, put in a couple games, because then that would tone down the ridiculous asks that other teams are throwing on the Oilers to give them their third goaltender.
One unfair comparison, I think I saw it today again in the inbox while we were doing the morning show, was he's the next Tim Thomas. I think
Calvin
that's,
Pickard?
Yeah, that's forgetting Tim Thomas was a starter in Europe and in Finland and to pretty great effect for a while.
He's the
Before
Jordan
he came over.
Binnington of this team. The American
Well,
hockey.
Binnington was like 24.
The American
25.
Hockey League goalie that's coming up
no.
around Christmas to save this
There's a
team.
difference. Okay, I'm going to step up.
Go for it.
Get ready for
Go
the
for it.
oil stream.
Or have a nap.
Well, he did have a nap on Friday.
on Friday.
He was doing the morning show, and he just sat on the couch over there, and he just
that's fair.
had a nice little nap in between the two shows.
Yeah.
Gerry Moddejonge, Murray McCourt, Matt Iwanyk with you here on the EST Hangout, presented by Mott's Clamato. C's are available in both original variety 12 packs and a great pack size for entertaining and hanging out with friends. By the way, Gerry, a few messages in the nasty chat saying you need to. I gotta find it again. Oh, too many messages. For punt sakes, you need to bring that back.
We need that back,
People are
hey?
fighting for that one. They want you to keep doing that. Now, obviously, you're not going to do it now because the season's over. But
That's tough. That's tough.
Why?
It's tough to put a ridiculous little 30-second video together when no matter what you do or say, what you see on the field is even more ridiculous.
Now,
it's got to turn around at some
at
point.
some
The
point,
Elks, you know,
yeah.
and like it has to. It's been 20 years, really.
I know.
They've had like 2 good seasons in that time.
like, what are your expectations for next year?
I hope they bring Trey Ford back. I hope they give him the start from the get-go, and I hope the team rallies around him and he puts an at least watchable, if not exciting, product on the field.
Is he not under contract for next year?
He is.
Yeah.
Is he under
He
contract
is under
for
contract
next
for
year
next
still?
year for one more year.
But
Okay.
he's got one more.
Okay, well,
and I don't think
then I hope they turn around and give him starter salary and re-up him, and just make that not even a factor.
Right.
And he's not looking to hit the market and go into a new
contract
team.
year and stuff. But here's the thing about that too: is that's a huge win on and off the field.
Yeah.
On the field, you locked in your starting quarterback who looks to be like, okay, this guy could be a legit starting quarterback for a long time in this
Yeah.
league. Off the field, off season wise, you get that press conference where it's Trey Ford's the quarterback. You
Right.
bring a little buzz. You can maybe go sell some of his jerseys, and you can
You can
plaster him on all the billboards.
You
and-
can sell the building. You can sell the field to Ford dealerships in the city, whatever. Right?
point.
You can
And
do something.
ratio-
Rick Lawlisher, there you go.
Ratio buster.
That's another thing. Lawlisher was not supposed to stick around. He was supposed to be the interim guy. I'm here for 6 months to help get things back on track. And who is surprised that he's back for more? Not me.
Well, okay, so it's out there a little bit now, this move to
Sell the team.
sell the team.
That's the plan.
I
Look for.
I have some information on that from some pretty good sources, but I'd love to hear what you would have to say.
Well, I wrote that 2 years ago that if they want to turn
Labor Day.
things around, yeah, it was Labor Day. Yeah, if they want, if you know what, this 9-person director leadership monster is all pulling in different directions, and you know what, that's just an impossible. That every bad decision in my mind that was made has been compounded. It all goes straight to the top, and that sits on the board.
Yeah.
It hasn't helped. Granted, it hasn't helped that the league decided that this football ops salary was going to be the thing to save clubs money, when all it turned out to do was hold teams at the bottom of the cycle down, as if it's not hard enough to pick yourself back up at the best of times. And yeah, every bad choice has just been turned on itself and made even worse. And there's no way out of it. Now, apparently, they're going to get
You get
some
2
relief.
mulligans now.
Right.
That's the tie. That's what was mentioned on TSN this past weekend. Was that they'll add you get 1 mulligan every 5 years. They're going to add a second mulligan in that 5-year
They
span.
need to get rid of that football ops cap.
100%. Or like, Yeah, I just think outright. Yeah, you're right. It needs to go. It also look this unintended benefit. I guess it's not a benefit problem is there. The other one, I think it also hurts just up and coming coaches because so many teams they have less staff. They have to take on now this year. Actually, not a lot of coaches were a coordinator and a head coach.
That's because it's a terrible thing to have.
I know, but some teams have to do that to save the. Chris Jones has to be. Well, he's always
the coordinator isn't bad. It's the head coach GM combo that is too big a job.
Yes, and you just miss out on encouraging younger guys on the staff to grow and future head coaches of this league. But back to the ownership part
and throw GM, head coach, and DC into that. And what so many players have told me was that when he was the DC head coach in DC, his attention to detail was so incredible that nothing was missed, and that's missing now because he's just too damn busy.
Yeah,
and that's unfortunate because. I mean, you were saying to me, when are we going to see a Chris Jones defense?
The defense hasn't been there 2 straight years.
We're not going to see it until the assistant GM Gerry Simon becomes the GM.
That won't happen.
You don't think that'll happen?
It's set up now.
No.
Chris, the football guys are not known to give up power.
Yeah, and Chris Jones wants it.
No, he won't.
Yeah, so maybe I don't know.
Yet you turn around and look down the street, and the mighty Oilers have fired Jay Woodcroft. Yet Chris Jones somehow has lasted through 0-9. You go back. I went back a decade. Any head coach of the Double E that was fired, way better than 0-9.
Yeah,
it's amazing how he's survived this and looks like to be riding out the last 2 years of a 4-year deal.
He could thank Trey Ford for that.
Yeah,
not a decision he necessarily wanted to make, but if this team doesn't have that little bit of a turnaround in August, September, I think there's a lot more heat of him being let go. Yeah. And that in itself kind of, I think, saved him a little bit this year.
Yes, and he also drafted the kid the year earlier.
Yep.
So built in by default. But there was definitely some headbutting between the two. Yep. Trey Ford did not want to go through all the rigmarole of what Chris Jones likes quarterbacks to do. And that's, sometimes even play on punt return coverage and do this and that. And Trey Ford's
Jordan Lynch doing that.
Nope, I'm a quarterback. And he's like, okay, you can be a quarterback on the bench. And it took, an 8-week first bye arm twisting of the powers that be to be like, Chris, you got to switch this up. The crowd is booing Taylor Cornelius off the field. And your best buddy, Stephen McAdoo, is coordinating this team into all they did was smash their heads against the wall every time. The definition of insanity. They keep doing the same thing. I'd love to see what Taylor Cornelius could have done under Jarius Jackson. Who knows?
Yeah.
But he still can't make the throws, though.
Well, was he being asked to make the throws that were best in his ability?
Did he have no confidence?
That's fair.
Did he have no confidence in the plays he was calling? And then that's partly why he just didn't have the throw, because he's feeling like, I'm going to have to do too much here because this is a terrible play call.
100%. Well, absolutely.
So ultimately, I feel the reason Chris Jones is still here ties into this whole ownership thing because, COVID hurt the league a lot and the Elks a lot with the money draining.
Paid a coach to not coach.
Exactly.
$500,000 to run some Zooms.
So the money was dropping, and they still have a good chunk of money, but if they had to pay, and I know in his contract it's only 1 year of the 2 years that they'd have to pay him out, but they would now have to pay him out plus pay a new GM, a new head coach, a new defensive coordinator, and financially, that's just something I don't feel they can do at this moment.
Why did they need to bring Wally Buono in to consult this? This is who you need to be. This is your head coach. This is your, and they're like, whoa. What about one guy doing it all? And Wally's like, well, I guess that's Chris Jones. They didn't need to pay him his consultation fee.
Well, when it was Chris Jones hired, I could have done that for the team and said, Chris Jones is out there. Go hire him and do all this.
He's the only one who can do it all. Easy. Not well, but probably better than anybody.
The other part is Wally Buono, as great of a legend is he's been a rival of this organization for how long? From Calgary to
Yeah.
BC. And you went to the rival and went, hey, help us.
This guy knows how to win football games.
And it's just, when you look back, it's just, was that necessary?
Wally Bono's also the one who initiated the deal to bring Mike Riley here in the first place, which resulted in their last Grey Cup. So
Was he?
Yeah. So, he was
I don't
shopping
know.
him around and said, Ed, you should take this guy. And to Harvey's credit, he said, yep, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like that Wally Bono thing goes back to what you were talking about with the board, though. I mean, the board are business people. They don't want to run a football team. And
But now's the one time the board actually has a football guy who's leading it.
Well,
They've never had a former player in charge. Now, how much does Todd Richards fully know of how to run the football ops side? I don't know. But for the first time ever, that board actually has a football guy in the top. They have not had that ever.
yeah.
So I don't know.
It's still not the greatest formula in my mind for leading.
so where is that at then right now?
I don't know. You know what? And all you have to do is here's another thing. You talk about BC and Edmonton. BC just took all the tarps off their upper bowl.
Yeah.
And Edmonton is just putting them on now, which I don't think is the word. Yes, some fans are out, and I get that, and that sucks. But as an idea, it's not the worst thing that can happen.
There's a lot of seats in that lower bowl, you know?
Yeah, you see Amar Doman come in, and you see just the energy, and it feels new in BC, and they're able to turn things around. Yes, Nathan Rourke had a lot to do with that last year, but as an organization, they're doing it right. And you look at that single ownership, and it's like that. You know what? If I had to pick one thing to help turn things around here immediately, that in my mind would have the most impact. That or, and I hate to play devil's advocate, let's change the name back to Eskimos, right? If you want fans back in the stands and rallying around,
there would be a big chunk go right back.
you know.
I don't know if it'd be a big chunk, personally.
Or well,
The attendance were already starting to dwindle before the name change.
Yeah.
When you start, if
That's
you look
an
at the
excuse for
attendances
sure.
of 13, 14, 15, 16, and you could just see the numbers are going down.
but
And
that was league-wide.
Absolutely. And also this year, the Elks ultimately had two of their biggest attendances that they've had in the last number of years.
that's
And
true.
they've done it as the Elks.
Yeah.
That there would be some that would
Straightforward
come
factor
back.
there, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
but that's the thing. This team just has to win football games.
Yeah, this team has to give fans reason to cheer again.
Come out, and it's... And heck, even actually, I'll give him credit. Even just the Taylor Swift promotion was a big one for 2 games. That was a unique promotion that got people to come to the football games. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I've heard that stadium as loud as it's been in a long time this year, and there would be some. I'm not going to say that there wouldn't be. I don't know if it's worthy of you'd be keeping the upper bowl open at this point.
Yeah.
No.
Well, they
That's
got to
gonna
quit
take a
giving
while.
tickets away, and
This-
Well, that
people
was a
buying them.
Victor Queen thing.
That is not the way to run a successful
absolutely
business with
not.
that
And-
model where now all of a sudden you turn around and you're like, oh yeah, we're going to start charging for this stuff again. And everybody's like,
Well, what do you mean? You gave them for me last season
just
for
lowering
free.
the value.
Well, and
Exactly.
that was a Victor
Devaluing
Queen
the,
thing.
yeah.
He sent it out there, and I think when Rick came in, that was one of the first things he
Yeah.
stopped was the amount of tickets being sent out for free
Yeah.
because it was just that can't be. But yeah, I'll be intrigued to see where the ownership goes and how long it takes to find a prospective owner or group of individuals to buy this team or businesses
and how on
who
board
it
the
is.
city's going to be with the whole thing.
Absolutely.
But they
Depends on who
they
it
need,
is.
They need to start realizing that the football club is in survival mode, and these decisions need to be made.
And I'll just be intrigued at what names there would be. Like based on what the insiders and TSN were saying yesterday a little bit is that there's a lot of interested parties that would be interested in this team. And so I'd be intrigued, okay, what are those interested parties? And
Would Cates?
Well, and that's the Oilers. I've heard both. I've heard the Oilers are interested. I've also heard the Oilers have no interest at all.
It's tough when you look 3 hours down south and the Flames are trying to get rid of the Stamps. And of course, there's a stadium issue in Calgary.
Yeah.
But there also is here. I mean, that track doesn't help anything. Maybe they need to not only cover off the upper bowl, but they need to dig down the field more, make it a bowl, put more seating, not
Put
as
suites
much,
down
but
there,
down
maybe.
below. Or
They
something.
were
like
talking
in
about
Dallas,
that
put
thing.
suites down there.
They
or
were
something.
talking
Just
about that. this
Just
year,
get people closer and make it more intimate, and maybe that'll help. But that's a big old barn the way it is.
The Oilers, I don't know if it would go great if they owned it, but also I do see the benefit of them owning the team because right when those people go to Rogers Place to watch the Oilers, they're obviously going to promote the Elks right then and there.
Yep.
You know, and there's that extra, you know, is Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl going to show up at an Elks game the following season just to be like, hey, they're there waving, you know, whatever it is, and does that get people? So that there is that. If the Oilers market something in this city, people listen.
You're right.
The
And in
Oilers
this
will
town,
sell.
that would be legitimacy. Absolutely.
You could
100%,
sell
yeah.
anything almost if you're the Edmonton Oilers. You could sell just a bag full of air and just put the Oilers logo on it, and there'll be enough people that will be like, "Yeah, I'll pay $20 for that."
Yeah.
At the same time, look what's happening with the baseball team. Randy Gray got a group together,
Yes.
and you know what? They bought them, and it's
Did it their own.
did it their own. You don't need to have everybody have a similar voice because then you're just in Elks directorship territory again. But you can get money together in this town.
Yeah, and that's the bigger rumor that's out there is a group of people, kind of what the Oilers did at that one period of time. A bunch of people with
investors
money, buy in and whatnot. But they're probably gonna lose money for a little bit. They need to be aware of that.
Well,
and have
it's
to keep chipping
at
in.
least there'd be some upside to that instead of just losing money like they have been, which is frightening. I mean, their kitty is getting bare.
Using another 3
well
this year.
So on like a side note to all this, I built a relationship with Victor Cui while he was here, and communicate with him still after this, and all the stories that are out there and what went on in the workplace and everything like that. I mean, I didn't work with Victor Cui. I am a partner of the team and built a relationship with him, and so I spent like an evening with him recently, and he had absolutely nothing but good things to say about the team and the organization. And, he recognizes that there's a lot of issues there and, with the board and different things, but he had absolutely nothing but good things to say about the organization. And he is planning at this time to stay in Edmonton. His family loves it here, and he's just trying to figure out what he might want to do here. But he's planning on staying in the community. So.
That was not a good look, seeing your president bail or get forced to walk the plank midway through a year that was as bad as that was going. Not only are they, not only is this a team full of losers, but now all of a sudden they're quitters too. The way it was set up, where Cui was leaving on his own accord, it just ugly. And however it turned out or worked out, it's not great. But hopefully, Rick can come back, help turn things around. I just don't see him as a long-term solution. Although, you know what? Wouldn't be the farthest thing from my mind to see him in that spot, looking at the books, being like, okay, this is my group I'm getting together. This is how much this team is worth, and I'm going to be
part
around
of the
for a
group
long
with it.
time. That is the
that'd
Rick
be interesting
Lawlisher.
Well, how
know.
old is he, and how is his health?
He's in his mid-70s, and
I think health is
will
good.
hang on to the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rick.
Well, he certainly would have the connections.
This
and he
is
certainly
true.
knows football in the league.
Knows
and-
this community so very well.
Exactly, yeah.
I don't see. Yeah, I don't have a quick age thing right there. I haven't heard
It's
that.
got
That
to be
would be
75.
But yeah, you be the, you would know the team better than any other of the prospective owners potentially looking at this, since you're already on the inside, and you could get the right people that no, we could turn this thing around, and he could sit there. I've done it. I've been part of this organization but I helped turn BC around, got them the right ownership, and we could do this here in Edmonton. And
There's not
when
a
this team's at the
lot-
top, it's loved in this city.
There's not a lot of 75-year-olds that would really want to keep going that hard at 75 years old, because that's a big job.
But he doesn't
a lot
have to
of
be
work.
president at that point. You wouldn't have to think,
That's
right?
true.
Like he could be
Very
part of the
true.
group,
He could
and
still be pulling strings.
Yeah.
he's no more the board. And it's wouldn't be the same, but be more the chairman type thing, right? Where
Right.
you have the power, but you're telling someone else what to do. Hey, Jeff Jackson with Ken Holland.
That's right.
Go make this trade, and come see me when you've got what you think is going to happen, and let me approve it.
Exactly.
But you go do the hard work. I'll just tell you what to do.
What a great guy to mentor
Yes.
the new president and introduce him to the community and teach him the way the league works and the way the team works and everything like that. I mean, that would be an outstanding person to learn from.
On the field, where do they need to go fix in free agency? Like
Their secondary,
O-line?
their secondary is going to be better this year. All those first and second year guys are going
Young
to be
guys,
together.
the experience.
And if they can keep them together, if not, they'll go their separate ways. And at some point in the year, or in the future, I can see us saying, "Hey, weren't those guys together all in Edmonton at one point? That's just the feeling I get looking at that secondary. Their linebackers have to stay healthy next year. I mean, they were all out, well, except for Konar, magically stayed healthy, but
Morgan deals with a lot of injuries.
Niles Morgan, they play hard, they play on the edge, and they got to figure out a way to taper that back and stay healthy. D-line, I liked what they did with Serezna again, just moving him around. I think if you're looking at the offensive side, Chris cannot go out and try and build a roster around expensive receivers again.
Well, they're all basically coming back.
That is not the way to do it.
Except Kyron Moore. He's the only free agent. So they're going to have to make some sort of move with this squad.
And do you know what that takes away from? And it's exactly what you said, the offensive line.
That's where you need it.
And paying your receivers big money like that, top dollar, because you didn't have a quarterback you had faith in, takes away from the offensive line. That being said, they ran the ball well this year, and that wasn't the problem. And, hopefully Trey Ford keeps his mobile feet and keeps himself alive, and, maybe they can get away with it. But I don't see another 4-win season happening again this year.
If you get even close to an 0-4 start, let's say, the code change happens right then and there. Like Chris Jones doesn't see the season. Like you've got to see some sort of improvement right at the hop of the season next year.
Trey Ford, got some experience and whatnot. I think they can't be worse than a 9-win team next year.
You have to be a playoff team next year.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like that's.
Yeah.
And not even a playoff team this year type thing. Like we had Calgary make it at a really low record.
Right.
Calgary, Saskatchewan is in a terrible spot. They could make it in the West.
And I think you have to at that point. Otherwise, like that was one of the reasons Jason Moss actually got fired, though, was he wasn't making the playoffs in the West, wasn't winning West playoff games.
The West is.
So now it's kind of with this new coach here, it's going to be Elizondo couldn't do anything in his 1 year. Now here, it's at some point you need to take a step, and if you miss the step this year, you don't get to be lower the bar for Chris this year. I think you're supposed to be this brilliant guy who knows defense. 9 wins might do it because you might be in the West, but it's a 9-10 season. Otherwise, you're sitting there going, "What are you doing here?"
Man, Elizondo had no chance. You talk about paying Milanovic $500,000 to run some Zoom calls. His assistant coaching staff that he hired was just pushed over to the next actual season. And they're like, "Oh, by the way, Jamie, here's your coaching staff." That is not how football works.
No, it can't.
Those head coaches have to surround themselves by guys they trust who know how to work together. That's why you see all these, guys, as soon as somebody gets a head coaching job, boom, all his buddies and henchmen are in and involved. And you can't.
Everyone following Chris Jones to Saskatchewan.
Just like Chris Knobloch didn't get to pick his assistant coaches.
This is true. Doesn't help.
Doesn't work.
But football is worse because you have twice as many.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's so many moving parts.
And when you're also the defensive coordinator, you need, like with Chris Jones, you need an offensive coordinator who's there. And with Jamie Elizondo, if you're not the offensive guy, you really need defensive guys that you can trust.
Yeah,
so that you can step away from the defense and say, you handle it. And when you don't know any of
and
them.
special teams, because Elks
he
for a
also
while didn't have a good
He also
special
brought
teams
himself into that spot by bringing up Cornelius from the XFL with him in the first place. But
yeah. At least for Chris Knobloch, Paul Coffey's only scheduled for this year. Right, and he has the chance that next year he could fill out his staff. Does Gulletson remain, or does he move on because he might be tired even
I think
of being around so many different
him moving
head
on
coaches.
would probably be time. But
I cannot believe the coaching carousel continues for the Oilers. You know what? You think they found their guy, things are going well. Yeah, there's going to be bumps in the road. Oh, where'd he go?
and everyone's got the bullseye on Dustin Schwartz as a coach, but Justin Schwartz and Knobloch were teammates with the U of A Golden Bears.
Wow. Right.
So I think he's safe if Knobloch gets to pick his guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Does he even stay?
I
know he's got 2 years on his
2
contract,
years
but
after
you
this
never.
year,
Who's lasted 2 years?
It's one of those. What if this season doesn't turn around at all? What if they stay in the spot the rest of the season? Are they going to stick with him?
No, McDavid's going to get healthy soon. It's not going to be a train wreck the entire time. It might not be near what everybody expected.
No,
which is just as bad.
Yeah,
but it's not going to be flailing, floundering.
But didn't see the start of this season happen. So there is a potential, and that's where it's they put themselves in such a weird spot, this team overall, because it's just an utter mess. And this is, by the way, now Movers and Shakers, brought to you by Marco and Mike Realty, Realty One Group Insider. Let Marco and Mike earn your trust. Buying or selling, give Marco and Mike the old PTO contract and let them prove to you why they're the best for the job, marcoandmike.com. But even just the coaches in the city, like, it's Edmonton Oilers and Eskimos/Elks. Like, how many press conferences have we had in this city in the last 15 years of a new GM or new coach, firing GM, firing
Or president? Like, there have been, we've gotten a lot of experience covering those type of things and seeing those things. So at some point, there's just got to be consistent. Here, Well, as Bob Nicholson said, there's something in the water. Like, I think we have this, maybe he was right all along. There's something that just in the city that, or the city of Edmonton is paying for the 80s. What's the joke? How many Oilers fans does it take to change a light bulb? One to screw in the new bulb, and the rest of the city to talk about how great the old bulb was.
Oh my!
Actually, I hadn't heard that.
No, I hadn't heard that one either.
Oh, it was so bright. It did such a great job, you know. Oh, really? No shadow. The whole room was lit up. It was amazing.
There were no shadows. None.
No dark corners. Nothing. Nope. Oh man, that was a great bulb.
Illuminating.
Efficient. Good on the power bill, electric bill.
Oh no! Oh. This would have been incandescent bulb. This would have been 90% heat, just burning its way through history.
Well, you know, Edmonton does. It shows their passion though, as fans,
it's a different
right?
city.
Which is amazing. But man, it's got to be a hard place to coach when the spotlight is on you so heavily like that.
The expectations are so high yet so low at the same time. They just need something to happen.
Yeah, like CFL wise, Winnipeg and Saskatchewan are the comparables. NHL wise, it's
you mean
Toronto.
market wise?
Like fan base.
Okay,
like those are your comparables, and NHL wise, it's like Toronto, that are as crazy.
Yeah.
In a good way, like
all
not
inclusive of
everything matters. Like when the Oilers are losing, when the Leafs are losing,
everybody talks about the team
up.
at least once a day at some point.
Vancouver, Calgary type thing. The team's losing. They'll be pissed off. There's no question. I'm not going to say they're terrible fans or anything like that, but they'll go on with their day a little more.
Absolutely.
They could go the rest of the okay, Flames lost last night. Okay, they don't get my attention today.
Yeah.
And they move on with their day type thing. Whereas
here it's like, what do we do? How do we solve this?
Yeah, you can see
that is
something has to happen right now.
Like the amount of people that actually are so interested in this moment that Calvin Pickett's going to be playing tonight.
Right.
Like that is a water cooler talk right now. But that is main water cooler talk across the city right now. Oh my God, did you see Calvin Pickett starting?
Or
because it's that important.
Yeah, is it not that Connor McDavid's 130th leading scorer in the league and Dreisaitl's whatever? Like the loss of production from those two guys is astronomical.
Draisaitl still, I think, is on pace for 108-point season.
Yeah.
So it's still like his pace is still there.
But how? Okay, that's fair.
McDavid different right now, but he's not healthy.
He was flying around the other day. I think he's getting healthier.
Yeah.
I thought he looked, but just not the same finish. Maybe not quite the same pull away speed.
He looks human.
Well, which is just so weird to see.
Which is weird
because we're not used to seeing that at all.
Even else,
he still touches the puck and people go crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
But that finish,
I know,
like it's just not right there right now.
That extra half step on everybody.
When you see a loss to the Lightning with a bunch of goals scored from both sides, and you go on the score sheet and you go 0-0-0 for goals, assist points for both Leon and Connor,
5 and 6 games for both those guys.
You then go, oh, that doesn't seem right. Like that is.
But the other side of that is Derek Ryan got 2 goals, and James Hamblin
all of a sudden the secondary
gets a goal, and
so
some secondary scoring finally, which we all had to know was going to come, and we all have to know that Connor McDavid, and I mean he's Connor frickin' McDavid, he's gonna turn it around. So. Yeah, it's
so this comes better. Back when that comes around, are they going to get the goaltending when they need it? And that's why that's like you go the goals expected point differential or whatever. The Oilers are right at the bottom. Right, they're giving up way too many goals.
Right, but as Gerry said earlier, it's they were their amount of goals they were scoring and the offense that they were getting was, outscoring their deficiencies that are still there. Now they're not getting that scoring, so those defensive deficiencies are that much more dramatic, defensive, and goaltending, and because they're not outscoring their problems. So they never really ever solved their problems. You don't get the scoring, you lose.
Yeah.
Fun times in this city.
Oh, isn't it?
You watched Green Day yesterday?
Yeah, great.
That was some
great
they were
performance.
Awesome.
Yeah,
They did really
absolutely.
well. And swore, which is great.
Played some new stuff. Played all the hits, and not all of them because they only had five songs.
Yeah, didn't have enough time to play them all. Didn't play American Idiot, but played other songs off that album.
Absolutely.
Great show.
It was fantastic. Good on the CFL for bringing them in.
They did a great job the whole weekend when you think of Shaggy for the awards, having a concert of Carrie Underwood in town, and then an awesome halftime show with Green Day that they've kind of set a standard of what Grey Cups now have to be moving forward.
What it should be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That we need to see that, Vancouver next year. Okay, how are you matching this or topping it?
Oh,
it can't go lower.
No, and it won't.
With Doman there, he's not going to allow it.
Hamilton to Vancouver. Think of the potential they have in Vancouver next year.
Yeah, man, and the games have been so good. That's my favorite part. It's like must see TV again, right? Like, it's not a letdown after the season. It's like
start to finish.
Yeah.
Well, overall though, this year, I feel like the entertainment of the games, regular season wise, went up from last year.
Yeah.
I feel like we had a lot more closer games, even though we had some bad football teams, including the team here in town starting off 0-9 and all that. It was really exciting season from start to finish.
Yeah. No, I agree for sure. And Ottawa was better, and even though their record, when you have 9 teams in the league, some teams are going to have better records, some teams are going to have lesser records. But I feel Ottawa and Edmonton were more competitive, especially as the season went on.
Yeah, it's just with this football ops cap, it's always Edmonton and Ottawa, and it's always the teams at the bottom. There's no. It seems like the cycle is kind of stuck in repeat for me.
And it's so annoying.
That's and with the cap, you have to almost do the Saskatchewan model where it's when you need to get rid of a coach, you have to let them come back for the last year of their deal so that they can finish it off. So you don't have to take the mulligan. So the
fans deserve better than that.
No,
they
I
shouldn't
know.
have to sit. I know,
but that's the way that they've set this up. Is if you want to properly run, like if you want to get past the cap for teams, that's how you have to do it. Which sucks. Because if you're ready to move on from your coach,
and everybody knows it,
you need to, and the coach knows it too. You need to move on.
You cannot play out the string.
But that's what happens in Saskatchewan this year. They don't have to take the hit going into next year, which is awesome for them. But they had to suffer this past season.
Boy, did they ever suffer yesterday.
Yeah.
Not good enough for this town.
So who's going to be their coach next year?
Milanovic. Unless I'm excited for the CFL offseason because there are quite a few football wise conversations to be had. Like, is Orlando Steinauer going to stay in Hamilton, or is that a way that Milanovic stays there? If not, is Milanovic going to take the head coaching job in Saskatchewan? If he doesn't go to Saskatchewan, who does Saskatchewan hire? So that's it for coaching that way. What happens with Bo Levi Mitchell? What happens with Dane Evans? There's not a lot of open quarterback spots that you look at right now.
I think we saw the future of Bo Levi Mitchell yesterday.
He's amazing on the panel.
Absolutely. Why not take that and run with it?
And
how old is he now? He's getting up there.
He's up there.
He's getting up there, but it's also just injury and performance at this point.
And he's just so solid behind the microphone. He's 33. He'll be 34 at the start of next season.
Could probably leg it out a little bit, but why not?
Absolutely.
Why not?
But he's won MOPs. He's won Grey Cups. Go now and honestly, I would actually like to see what he can do as the color guy in a booth during the game because it's like him going calling out Richie Hall's defense on that last touchdown yesterday. I would love that in the moment type thing and see if he could do that. But no, he should be on a panel. I just don't think he's ready for that. Yeah, so is someone going to give him a spot to play? I don't know.
I don't know.
But how many, BC doesn't need a quarterback. Edmonton's sticking with their quarterback. I would think Calgary's going to give Mayer another shot. Is Dolagala the guy in Saskatchewan, or are they going to make a change? So maybe Saskatchewan we'll look at. Winnipeg's fine. What's happening in Hamilton? What's happening in Ottawa? Montreal and Toronto are fine. So there's maybe 3 spots of what's going on there. And the guys that you have are Bo Levi, Dane Evans. You got to throw in then the incumbents in Jake Dolagala, Taylor Powell, Matt Schultz, Bo Levi, Dustin Crum, Jeremiah Mazzoli, and now being thrown out there, McLeod Bethel Thompson.
Ooh, that Crum's fun to watch too. Hey,
Yeah. Like, I think if you're Ottawa, you're sticking with him. If you're, at least you bring in a veteran to maybe play ahead of him and give him another year as a backup or someone to play behind him.
Maybe, yeah.
Give him the competition in camp to go earn it or something. And maybe that's a Dane Evans. Jeremiah Mazzoli, just with the injuries the last couple of years, it sucks.
yeah.
But that list of quarterbacks, Bo Levi can get a contract, and it's going to pay him a lot more money than
Hamilton tried that, and then
in the booth.
Yeah, Hamilton tried that, and then everything everybody thought would happen happened, and he was out right away.
The arm's just not there with him anymore. He's had too many of the shoulder injuries that it's just even if he could stay healthy for a season, he's not throwing for what he did.
No.
Well, when you listed off that batch of quarterbacks, I mean, I'm pretty happy with Trey Ford being the starting quarterback in Edmonton.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, is he the best quarterback in the league? No.
You don't want him to be the best quarterback in the league, or else he'd go to the other league.
Well, fair enough.
Right?
But he doesn't have the size.
No,
I mean,
but
his skill
he's
set's
perfect
different.
for the CFL.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
And same thing with Crum. Those guys can move.
I want the Elks to give him like a 5-year contract, which is almost unheard of. But I mean, you got to tie it on this guy.
But it's football. Those terms don't mean anything.
Yeah, that's fair. There's always
Except the Cornelius contract, they got the guaranteed money with him. So
gosh.
this year he actually you can't even move on from him necessarily as much because I think it's $100K guaranteed.
To their credit, the Elks realized, look, we're going to lose this kid to the spring leagues that are now up, which are taking much of the talent away that would have been making their way to all those
year.
caps.
Flipping again this year.
But at that point, they're like, look, we're just going to have to pay this guy like a starter and just keep him around.
Yeah.
Because there were not a lot of other options. That whole list you ran through, it's like, meh.
Exactly.
Dane Evans is a guy I'd like to see what he can do in another shot.
For
I
sure.
feel like he needs to be challenged in a team. That's when he gets his best. When he's the guy and there's no one else there because of injury, there's no one else there, he doesn't produce as much. But when there's someone out, like as long as him and Jeremiah Mazzoli were together, that's when he was playing his best. He started in a Grey Cup.
Yeah.
You know, like he led Hamilton to quite a few good, half a season or whatever it was. And I don't think there's a terrible, like there's something there.
For sure.
I just think he needs a little shot, but maybe that's where I think Ottawa, if Dustin Crum goes in, maybe he wasn't going to get the starting job in BC this year, as Vernon Adams. So I don't know. I'm intrigued by. I'm also intrigued that who would give McLeod Bethel Thompson a shot.
I mean, what is McLeod? He's going to be 37 next year?
Oh, boy, yeah.
I also, I'm not that impressed with him as a starting quarterback. The Argos won because Chad Kelly came in.
Yeah.
And Chad Kelly won them that Grey Cup.
Yep. Absolutely.
And he wants starting job, and I don't know what team would
He
sit
also
there and
lost
want.
them the East Final this year.
He did.
But
100%
you live by the gun, die by the gun. When
he also had 16 wins this year, which McLeod Bethel Thompson didn't do that last year. You know,
you're right. It would have been cool to see Toronto in the Grey Cup, but man, Montreal held their end of the bargain.
Yeah. Jason Moss. I mean, the speeches that you were hearing him fire up the team.
I know.
I mean,
the guy, and he's a player. He's a former player and a player's coach, and guys will run through a brick wall.
Absolutely, he's that good a guy, and he is who he is, and
this is Machocha's vision. He wanted Moss back in the fold, and to his credit, it all worked out. And Moss looked at his QB from last year. He's like, let's give this guy a shot.
Even though it looked like they had a relationship with Saskatchewan that was clashing a bit.
Sure.
Or just at least looking on the sidelines, it looked like it, right?
Such a fishbowl compared to Montreal, where you can be on your own a little bit more.
I have to say this about Danny Machocha because I'm very critical of his time from here in Edmonton. He made a lot of mistakes. He made a lot.
20 years ago when he was brand new. But you're right.
I was critical of the firing of Kahari Jones. I completely did it. I was one of those people that said he's only doing this so he can coach. When he hired Jason Moss and went, why are you hiring Jason Moss? This guy can't coach. We saw it here in Edmonton. Hired the right guy, made the right move in all of that. 100%, I was completely wrong on that. And then also the ownership issues that they had this year, where it looked like they had a team going at the end of last year, but then we don't know what's going on with ownership. They lose a bunch of guys in free agency because there's this uncertainty with ownership.
Classic CFL.
You know, Eugene Lewis comes here, Trevor Harris goes to Saskatchewan. You're thinking this is going to be a mess of a team this year. That what are they going to be able to do? They can't do anything. They get an owner, and Danny builds a team that wins a Grey Cup.
The Island of Misfit Toys. I laughed when I heard that the first time.
And so I have to outright full credit to Danny Machocha and what he's done in Montreal since he's gone there as the GM, and he's deserving of the Grey Cup as well. Like,
those words can't
kudos.
come out of my mouth because I'm so bitter about his time here.
Absolutely.
I know.
And he made a lot of mistakes here in Edmonton.
Yeah.
But right now in Montreal, he hasn't really had a misstep.
Yeah, and probably-
Everything,
Even with the Carabins, when he was
He turned them into a
absolutely.
juggernaut, and so maybe it's the same thing as Jason Moss that we were talking about. He learned and grew.
That's the thing. You surround yourself by the people you trust and you know you can work with, and who knows what can happen.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Now, Gerry, what do you know about the draft? Elks get number 1 overall. Elks get number 10 overall. 1 overall.
Well, yeah,
That could
You're
be
right.
an impact player right there that can come in and help the team.
If you're Chris Jones, who parlayed that first overall pick into 2
picks.
and got McConzo at 4, Trey Ford at 8,
Right.
that was master stroke.
Absolutely, yeah.
Immediate starter in McConzo and bacon-saving quarterback a year later. Yeah.
So, is this a strong draft? Do you have any knowledge of what's up there?
And this is what caught Chris Jones last year when he was heading into the May draft. He got rid of guys like David Beard, his center, who the PA just voted in as the PA All-Star center of the league.
Got Kyle Saxlid, who then he just let go as
Right.
well.
Yeah, American
going
trained
into the
Canadian
season,
tackle. Yeah, so he's dishing off all these because he thought last May's draft was going to be just jam-packed, deepest he's ever seen. And a bunch of guys defer until this year. So he got caught there. But this one is going to be now the deep one. So he may be in an even better spot this time around.
Yeah.
So the CFL Scouting Bureau fall edition of the rankings, which came out in August, has Curtis Rourke, QB, number 1. And then there's 4 offensive linemen, and there's 6 offensive linemen in the top 10 anyways. So it's one of those traditional CFL drafts that we're looking at O-linemen going,
Except there's a quarterback in there, and all of a sudden that means something.
Yeah.
Where
that could be
it didn't before.
That could be a trade situation where we could, I don't know.
How do you look at that name and be like, I'm just going to pass that up and go with a traditional O-lineman?
So Edmonton is the only team that would sit there and look at. We could pass up on this guy because we've got our guy.
But
we've got our
number
Canadian
1 overall.
QB. So now maybe that's where you could trade back.
There you go.
Yes.
Or trade
And
down. And get
pick
double up
3
again.
and get pick 9 or whatever it might
And
be,
maybe
because
a
that
player.
team jumps up there.
gonna be fun
you
to
get
watch.
that a couple of offensive linemen and you load up.
Maybe a player too.
That might be the big story that you have to watch is is Ottawa going to want to jump up to get that
And
pick?
it's
What are
off
they gonna
season
get?
Chris Jones, so he's not thinking field stuff, right? He's got all his focus on
Being the GM type
the
thing.
GM.
And
But where they're at now, I mean, Chris Jones needs to win right freaking now.
Yes.
And he knows that. So I like it. But I don't necessarily, I mean, get a first round pick and maybe a next year's first round pick or something like that. But you get a player. You get a player from off the roster of that team, even if it's a special teams stud or,
well, if they
look
need
at what Matthew Betts turned into, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, Brock took a
and he
chance
didn't
on
really
him.
let go of him, did he?
No.
Or did he?
How did it work out? Yeah,
Because he's been there 2 straight years.
that's right.
yeah.
So I don't know if he would have, because then Chris Jones came in the January, Betts signed in February. So I guess he would have had a month to possibly try to re-sign him.
Right. That also comes down to a free agency type of thing too. And if Chris didn't want to get into a bidding war because Matthew did nothing as last year.
It was a bad season.
They had Sean Lemon.
Oh,
And Sean Lemon got
2 days
punted.
before the season started, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Or something, and then he goes to Calgary.
Because Betts was this guy. Yeah. You know what? Good
That
on
was a
Lemon.
Brock Sunderland.
Also, Lawal Ugwak, local kid, Harry Ainley, was a force to watch. Man. Great.
I think it was him on the very last play of the game recognized the Winnipeg punter came on the field.
Nice.
There's this wide
Nice.
shot,
Yeah.
and he was pointing, and he did like a kick motion to the rest of the defense
Nice.
to be like, "Hey, kick coming."
Good eyes.
He noticed it right away,
Yeah.
and that's awareness.
That whole family. The older brother played for Loyola, was in March Madness a couple of years
Was
back.
he?
But the young kid coming up is supposed to be an even bigger beast than all of them put together. So
Really?
yeah, it's
Football?
a fun family to watch.
Jeez.
Yeah. Local products getting kicked out. Can't say enough about that Ainley program and what those guys have done there. Green Slate and
It's great actually just seeing Edmonton football in general, like
absolutely
outside of the pros.
yeah, absolutely.
The Bears taking that step up.
Yeah.
That's also because we've seen a little step up players below,
They
high
wanna
school
come
football,
play here
and it's
Chris
maybe
is
at some
recruiting. He's
point-
getting kids drafted.
and that's gonna, if you're getting kids drafted, which includes to the NFL, you're gonna keep getting players coming here because they're gonna look at how do I get to the pros, and they're gonna look, if I'm especially offensive lineman, I could go there, play for a guy who's done it, who's won
Yeah.
rings, and also gonna put me in a chance to get drafted. Sign me up.
So cool to see that Ainley Golden Bears pipeline.
Yeah,
They
and their
need stuff like
success
that.
this year is only going to accentuate
Minor
that a
football
lot,
is so much fun in this town too. It's so big. I know hockey trumps all, but it's great that there's a foothold for football here.
As you know, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. Playing against Carolina yesterday, Chuba Hubbard from Sherwood Park. I can't believe Carolina didn't feed him the ball more. He had a good game going. They just didn't give him the ball very much. He was subbing him in, but an Edmonton product.
Yeah.
A really solid NFL player. That's like, so good.
Edmonton's got the best left back in all of other football in the world too, right?
I was about to
It's just
say, like, just knowing that even Alphonso Davies being from Edmonton, and it's just this
Very
guy.
cool.
He's gonna go eventually to Real Madrid, which is just I don't think people really understand what that means of being a Canadian playing on Real Madrid as a starter eventually coming up here,
Yeah.
and he's already playing at Bayern Munich. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something with Edmonton that.
something-
Yeah, the pro teams stink right now. The Oilers aren't doing what they're closer to bust than cup type thing.
Yeah.
The Elks, bad year, but everything else feels really good.
all these other guys are drinking bottled water.
They're getting it nice and filtered, and they're not just going right to the tap.
Oh,
but yeah,
man.
no one. And Alphonso Davies in Canada, they have a game tomorrow in Toronto against Jamaica, and winner or draw, they go into what's called Copa America next summer,
Nice.
which is a very big deal. It's like the Euros of South America, and that. Depending how the draw plays out, depending how it goes, they could be playing Brazil or Argentina
cool.
or any of those next summer. And Lionel Messi going up against Alphonso Davies, Canada, Argentina next
boy.
year. Like, how cool would that be?
You can't script that any better.
And yeah, Canada's not going to be the favorite in that one.
No.
But it would be fun to watch.
Yeah,
For
for
sure.
sure.
So
Absolutely.
that's
At least they're a player on the stage. Like
That's the
how
thing.
long was that not ever even a wildest imagination sort of thing?
exactly.
We're one of the best teams in North America, straight up CONCACAF. Type that we could challenge the US, we can challenge Mexico.
Yep.
And if you're there, who knows what can happen?
How about flag football in the Olympics too?
Oh my
What
God.
is going on in the world?
What?
hey?
I didn't know that.
Oh, it's going
In
into
LA.
London.
Oh yeah.
And the NFL apparently is encouraging their players to maybe sign up, which I'll believe that when I see it.
No, but they're pushing it on.
I know, I still
on
believe
the
when I
games.
see it, because if I'm an owner and I'm paying Tyreek Hill, I don't know how much money, and going, you're not going to be at my training camp because you're at the Olympics?
Could you imagine Tyreek Hill in flag
I
football?
guess.
Trey Ford, baby.
Yeah.
Give me Trey Ford and Team Canada.
I agree.
Let's
Yeah,
see what he
that'd be a
can do.
good
Let's put
one.
him as our quarterback.
You know, it's just fun, and sports should be fun. Why not?
That's why I do love the Olympics. I hate the organization that runs the Olympics. The IOC is just, we don't need to get into that.
Yeah.
But when the Olympics rolls around and watching that stuff, it is fun. It's enjoyable. And I don't think I've ever watched an actual flag football game in my life.
No.
But give me that Team USA.
Yeah.
And give me that Team Canada match next year.
dream
'Cause I don't know if
teams,
there's
yeah.
anyone else really challenging the US. I think it's Canada necessarily, if the NFLers
Italy,
are there.
Italy, maybe. I don't know. Where do guys go over to play in Europe when they?
Well,
there's no other choice, right?
For football?
Yeah.
Would some rugby
Italy,
players be able
Adam
to
Rado was a
transfer over?
coach out in Italy for a long time. I know that. Pardon?
Would rugby players be able to transfer over?
I don't know if that would work for flag football.
Oh.
Like, I would think you're looking. Again, I'm not going to try to think I know anything.
I'd
about
almost
rugby.
rather have soccer players.
Well, I'd want agility,
Just
speed,
Speed, yeah.
because you got to be
Yeah, rugby
elusive and
players are a
stuff.
little thick, yeah.
Yeah, there's no real tackling or anything, so
Yeah, like
And I don't think they're stuffing anyone at the line.
Chuba Hubbard as a running back. That's
Well,
okay
it's true.
too. Oh,
Yeah.
like
yeah,
it.
give me Trey Ford. Trey Ford versus Pat Mahomes.
In flag football.
In flag not
football.
in
Big
NFL, not in
difference.
American
Yeah.
football here. We're not talking American football.
Yeah.
In flag football,
like-
The nasty chat's blowing up. What's
Using-
wrong with you?
I'd be completely insane at that point.
yeah.
Using chess pieces on a checkerboard. That's what that would be. Be great.
Yeah, I don't see NFL owners. The NFL might push it, but our owner's going to want to be like, hey, I'm giving you X guaranteed money.
And all it takes is
Go
one.
for it.
If one guy does it, and all of a sudden all the spotlight's on him, and all of a sudden everybody's like,
But
Also, at the flip side, you want to piss off your star. You know,
it doesn't even have to be star guys.
No, but if Pat Mahomes says, I want to go play,
Right.
that's like,
Right, good
are you
point.
going to go sit there and be like, you get the chance to play in the Olympics? Is that owner
It's
going to
just
want to sit there and
you're
say,
an Olympian.
absolutely?
And you know what?
As an owner, are you going to want to go to the
Athletes
star player and say
Feed
no?
off of their egos.
Yeah.
And that would definitely be something. Joe Montana wasn't an Olympian.
Yeah. You can't. Tom Brady wasn't an
Tom
Olympian, right?
Brady.
Like you go to that, that middle of the pack guy. Yeah, you're an owner. You're going to be like, no, I'm paying you to be here. You could piss that guy off, no problem. But if Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce come sit down and go, I'm going to the Olympics, are you as an owner going to want to look them in the eye and be like, no, you're not, and cause a riff?
Right. Or is it going to
tough,
be like the Olympic hockey a few years back when Sid and Connor were going to be on the same team, and all of a sudden it doesn't happen, falls through right at the end. It's like, wah,
We
wah.
never have gotten Crosby and McDavid together.
Nope.
What a
In
shame.
their primes. Nope.
What a shame.
yeah. Okay. When's that going to come back again? Like another Canada Cup or something? That's so fun to watch.
Sports should be fun. They should
Yes.
be setting it up for fun.
Yeah.
That's what makes like hockey the best when it's those best and bets is we don't care about the cap at that point.
Right.
We don't care about stats or anything.
Yeah.
We just think fantasy wise. Like when you're thinking about McDavid and Crosby, McKinnon together, let's say, with McCarr on the blue line, like no one's sitting here being like, wow, what's their PDO going to be?
Right.
Or, what's their plus minus going to be? It's just, that's going to be insane to watch. They're going to be so fast. How do you defend that?
People
like,
still
it's just
talk
so
about the
fun.
92 Dream Team, right? Like it's just amazing.
That's what you want.
Yes.
And so that's where Gary Bettman and the NHL have screwed this up
With
too
the
much.
Olympics, for sure.
Without getting, and again, it doesn't even have to be Olympics, but get the World Cup of Hockey done.
Yeah, right.
Figure
Exactly,
it out
yeah.
and have it consistently. So we could sit down every 4 years and go, I'm ready to watch best on best hockey.
Every
That's
2
it.
years. Like, give
People
it
do
to us.
People do it in juniors every Christmas.
Absolutely. And 2 years.
There's an appetite for that.
And
Absolutely.
we're still waiting for the World Cup of Hockey. But now I think they're at the next Olympics. I think the talk is that they'll be at that next one. It's in Italy, I believe it is. So
ultimately-
time zone's not too bad.
Ultimately, it comes in like go back to the flag football. Patrick, okay, you go, and he blows his freaking knee out, and he's out for the whole season. Like,
Well, Tavares got hurt. Was that 2010? Or was that 14? Tavares got hurt, and I remember Gar Snow was very upset with the Islanders.
Yeah,
Because he
well, of
goes and he
course.
gets hurt. But it's also, it's the Olympics. And if the
I
players
know,
want to go and the players say, I'm going, you're not stopping them.
Hey, and we're fans. We want him there. We want to watch this
Like,
stuff.
Oiler fans, I don't know. Do you want Connor McDavid to go play best on best? I would think yes.
Absolutely.
I would think
Of
yes.
course, you have the best.
Absolutely.
Why not put him out there and prove
Yeah.
it?
Because some might
absolutely.
sit there and be like, I don't want him hurt playing for Canada.
Oh my!
I want to go win a
God.
cup.
That's that chicken bleep attitude that you cannot do.
And
what
if he
you
got
just
hurt,
talked
he'd be
about.
healthy enough by the time playoffs rolled around. Anyways, if they could make it.
Well, that's this year's maybe a little
Yeah,
different.
I
We'll
know.
find
Oh my
out now,
gosh.
won't we? We're going to see what happens with Connor McDavid.
I know.
Did they win tonight? Like,
With your guy in net.
What color are your socks today? Not
my
purple.
socks?
Not purple. Remember
No,
that?
I have Snoopy socks on today.
All
you
right,
sure
not
do.
purple. Remember you had purple socks, and I said you have purple socks. They're going to lose. And
Why was
well,
it
because we
purple?
were just talking about,
Oh, you're random. Yeah,
superstitions,
random
and I said,
superstitions.
yeah, because you
yeah,
said
but
purple socks.
Jerry's
are
got the new Vans.
Yeah.
Again, when did you buy
Flashy.
those though?
Flash. I got them for Christmas. I've been saving them for.
You haven't
special
worn
occasions.
those since Christmas,
I wear them to game days.
Okay.
They're my game day shoes.
so that you've barely worn those.
I've barely worn them.
Because like even the back part of the Vans where it's off the wall, it says off the wall
Yeah.
and stuff. It's intact.
It's still there, fully legible. Yeah.
Like, those are.
Oh yeah. I don't have a toothbrush or anything, but you wipe them down. Give them some love.
You're not. Are you a shoe guy at all?
No. I'm just.
You've got the nice ankle socks going
well
though today with the
that's
shoes.
all I own. I don't own any longer socks. No.
So
That's all-
uncomfortable. You get that line.
I know. I
halfway
hate
up.
it. Like even when I wear suits, I wear ankle socks. Yeah, I hate anything but that. This is the only pair of runners I really own, unless it's runners to like run
golf?
in.
Oh,
Yeah, I hate running shoes for golf. Like I like the old classic. I'm a dress shoe
with
guy.
the cleats, like the I like the soft studs. At the
Well,
bottom.
yeah, so soft spikes. But I mean,
Yeah.
like there's running shoes with soft spikes. But I like the old classic dress shoe style golf shoes. I guess
I want to
I'm
get
getting
into
old.
the Jordan's golf shoes.
Oh yeah,
There's some really good Jordan golf shoes out there.
Didn't he throw on? Was it in the documentary on Netflix? Didn't he throw on a pair of original Air Jordans for a game, and his feet were bleeding at
Oh
the
my!
end? Right, like top of the line and 80 whatever, and now like look how far they've come. So
They're amazing.
Yeah, man.
I didn't understand Jordans until I got my first pair.
Nike factory outlet,
And then
You
you're
can't go
also
wrong.
just like,
Yeah,
oh my
any
God,
factory
I want
outlet's
more
amazing.
Jordans.
yeah.
Like they're
That's why-
worth
that's
the money.
That's why
actually.
people
Like,
go
straight up.
crazy
Yeah. Like,
and get toothbrushes for their shoes.
So you're 45 though.
Yeah.
Don't you grow out of running shoes
No,
at a
I
certain
don't.
age?
I don't think so.
no, those
No.
shoes has become a thing now.
When you're 55, you're gonna.
Maybe when I'm 55.
It's the same as video games are now the thing because people grew up with them, and now video games will always be something you do
it's
as an
like-
adult.
it's like
as you
reading a
grow
book.
older. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
That shoes is now like it's going to
That's
keep
like-
going. It's the fashion.
That's the
statement.
fashion statement.
Yeah,
It
my
is.
little guy's 7. He keeps me young. So
I got a 5-year-old.
Nice. Good for you.
Boy, fun, hey?
yeah,
It's a lot of fun.
the best part is they know everything already.
Oh, yeah, my son.
in life, like in
Just
general.
everything.
Yeah.
There's not an
Try arguing
NHL
with
team
him.
logo. My son doesn't know.
Yeah.
Like everyone, he sees the logo. Oh, that's the Los Angeles King. Oh, that's the.
My little guy doesn't care about that, but
No.
he did start playing flag football this year.
Did he?
Oh,
So hopefully we're
so
watching the Olympics when he's
2032
yeah.
work.
Oh, boy.
maybe he's going to be
How old?
class of
You said-
2032. Yeah,
So many years. So that's
he's
yeah, it could
7
work.
plus. I'm not good at math. Yeah, you're right.
It could maybe work. Or he'd be the start of the cycle. Canada taking on the U.S. 2032
That's right.
Olympics.
Well,
and
that'd
then
only
36 and 40.
Hey,
He'll
in all,
be
be
there.
16
In-
in,
in-
32.
Could be
2032.
could be an underager ready to go.
in all seriousness, I'm so glad they push flag football so heavy in this town because
Do they?
I want them to. Yeah, and in schools and everything.
Because they didn't when I was a kid.
I want them to learn the basics. I want them to figure it out before they start
The pads and all that.
smashing heads. Yeah.
Are you willing to put your kid in football?
You know, if he wants to,
Yeah.
of course. But and especially now that they treat things a lot more seriously
Mm-hmm.
at all levels. But at the same time, if it gets to a point where this has happened again, no.
No, like my son loves football too. We play tackle all the time and stuff like that. But you know how times have changed. And I grew up in Stettler. I did play flag football, and I was a quarterback. You play flag football. Then there's a big football program in Stettler, always has been. And then you play junior football, and then you play high school football. And so I was the quarterback in flag football, and I refused to go play on the junior team because back in that day, hazing, what happened on their first road trip on the way back after the game in Red Deer, the veterans would hold all the rookies down by their arms and their legs and pink belly, beat the heck out of you in your stomach with belts and sticks and stuff like that until your stomach was a big bruise. And I refused to get the crap kicked out of me to play on a football team. So I just said, no, I'm not going to play, and never played football again.
Man,
Like,
you could have missed your calling. Who knows?
well, I knew I could have been Warren Moon 2.0,
could
the
have
white
been.
version.
You could have been.
Yeah.
We will never know
You
now.
could,
They
you
will
could
never
be,
know.
You could be the director of the Double E board right now.
Wow.
It would have been better shape. I can guarantee that right now.
Yeah.
Any of us could be on that and it would be in better shape,
no
I would
thanks.
think.
I'll stay where I am.
Cover the Oilers. They might miss the playoffs.
Yeah, you can just stay writing about how bad the board is. Then.
That's a lot easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Jerry Murray, thanks for coming in. As always, it was great.
all good.
Appearance number 3.
Number 3. Yeah.
Number 3, going for number 5.
I'm gonna get that house robe.
That will, once you hit 4, I'll have to go get a outro, I guess.
This is 5 for me today.
Are you hitting? You
Good
hit number
for you.
5.
Number 5
Good
today.
for you.
Yeah.
There we go.
Nice
So-
work.
You're 5. You're number 3, and I guess I need that next time you're here. I'll have the Gerry house robe for number 5, but we could let you give it a try.
You
since
got
got
it.
the 5
House
for.
robe.
I'll just charge that back to Dusty and we'll get that. It's all
Everybody
good.
wins.
Yeah, all right. I
This
love
was
it.
the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar. Coming up next, it is the Lock Shop. I think the Cool Bet boys are running it because I think Huss and Dusty are both flying back to Winnipeg and Edmonton respectively from Grey Cup. So that's coming up at 11 in just a few minutes. And then Tommy and I have the Oil stream at noon as we'll get you set Oilers, Preds, and my boy, Calvin Pickard. He's in net tonight. He's going to salvage this season. You heard it here first on the EST Hangout.
my God.
On behalf of Tommy, Murray, Gerry, I'm Matt Iwanyk. Thanks for tuning into the Hangout. Like I said, coming up mere minutes, it is the Lock Shop right here at Edmonton Sports Talk and EdmontonSportsTalk.com.